What's up, everybody? Welcome to the final part of Fountains of the Great Deep, Earth and Space Science from the Perspective of a Global Flood. Tonight's presentation is on the origin of comets, meteors, asteroids, and trans-Neptunian objects. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure to do that, like, share, subscribe, and also you can click the link at the top of the comment section, which will bring you in here with me. And then we can discuss the presentation together, and then afterwards we can open the floor to, basically any topics and just discuss daily dogma or whatever. But for some announcements, I got a debate hopefully coming up with Mark Reed, a morality debate. The title should be "Do Morals Exist?" That'll be happening on the Debate Cafe. So Debate Cafe, there are I think two of them, but Snake was right, his channel. Debate Cafe, you can go over there, definitely subscribe to them. They're doing some awesome work over there. So hopefully Friday night, me and Mark Reed, or some Friday in the near future of the month of November, be debating Mark Reed on morality. Do morals exist? That's going to be awesome. Saturday night, I'll be with Peter Lee Young on here doing an after show on the topic of, or the question really, does space exist? Because he's a flat earther, doesn't think it exists. I have a documentary I'm uploading shortly. It's the truth about human evolution, entitled Scientific Racism and the Hominid Fossil Record. So that'll be coming up shortly, and the upcoming live streams will be posting that and then uploading it pretty soon. So within the next 2 days, possibly tomorrow night is what I'm shooting for, or sometime like in the afternoon. I don't know, but we'll see how that goes. So click the link if you want to come in here. Don't go away. I'll be with you momentarily. Iger was trying to join the stream. There he is. So I'll bring him in here. Iger in the house tonight. Nice.
Woo, woo. Yeah, bro. Came to hang out for a little while, man. And
Interesting topic too for Iger to come back from vacation and join Christmas over this channel. What's up, Iger? Are you there?
yeah, man. I'm here. How's my audio?
It's perfect. It's flawless.
Okay. I got headphones, if anything, and I'm pretty far from my router today. So, but I got my cell phone. If it goes bad, I can log into my phone. Yeah,
Right.
man. What's up? I kind of read the topic, but I can't see it yet. Let me see. No, I saw it on the tag earlier, but it was something about planets, meteors, or asteroids, meteors, and
Yeah, all of those kind of like wandering bodies that they're not planets, they're not stars, they're just like
trans-Neptunian.
rocks.
I had to look up the word trans-Neptunian because I just hadn't heard it before. Trans-Neptunian objects.
Yeah.
It's gonna be it's gonna be a fun. I'm interested to see your slideshows or I don't know what you got planned. Go for it, bro.
Awesome. Let's do it. Thanks for joining, Iger. My co-host here. I should be paying you, but I'm not. But not yet. Well, the channel will blow up, and then I'll start paying
you. Yeah, bro. Yeah, for sure. My schedule's kind of all over the place right now, so yeah, I'll be stopping in once in a while whenever I can, but I don't want to promise you. I don't want to commit to any weekly shows for the moment. Till my paycheck goes up from NASA.
And you're just working for free.
Yeah, I just kind of hang out for free, man, just to come visit you. All right, go for it, bro.
I love you both. Thanks for joining. Origin of comets, meteors, asteroids, and trans-Neptunian objects. So, to clarify, trans-Neptunian object is any object in space that's not like a planet that's orbiting past the planet Neptune, like a comet or a meteor, asteroid. If you don't know what those are, it's just like a loose ball, a collection of gas, dust, and rock in space. Iger, do you want to make any objections?
Yeah, I object, bro. This is an interesting question because I've heard some explanations from a flat Earth standpoint, right, on what meteors are. Well, what we see as meteors. So if you could picture kind of like an electrical buildup on the surface, kind of like lightning, I guess. Some flat earthers will say that that's kind of like a lightning type of effect that's going on in the dome in the firmament. It's like an electric buildup, electric charge. That's why they look like little lights in the sky. And then if you find something solid on the ground, whatever's going on up there, that's more how elements are formed. This mix between, like, let's say energy and whatever elements are up there already. So basically a part of the sky is falling down. We even have like this blue sky stone. And then what's the other thing? I think that's it, bro. I think that's it. Just kind of like when you see kind of like a meteor falling, a lot of times people won't find the actual rock on the ground. It's just a phenomenon that happens in the sky. And then another interesting thing is that if there were meteors or whatever, you will see them traveling in every direction. So they will be going from down to up as well, but we never see that. We always see them kind of coming from up to down, from what I heard, the ones I've seen also. All right, go ahead, bro. Carry on, man. That's only the first slide.
Well, do you, what about when they do find, like, when it comes to crash down like comets, there's places in the earth, like especially like up near like the North Pole, where they're just kind of like laying around. I think Greenland.
I'd like to see those. Yeah, we can. If you have any pictures of that pulled up, then we could address those. But like I said, it could be piece of the dome or piece of the dome or whatever, or sometimes lightning. There's static electricity up there. There's all types of electrical storms going on. We got sprites, so these can actually create some type of stone up there that falls down. I do believe in like one
Yeah.
asteroid. The Bible talks about wormwood that's going to come down and I want to say pollute like a third of the rivers or waters or rivers. I'm not sure, but so I do believe that there is in the waters above there might be I don't know something. But yeah, I like to see these pictures of the asteroids, bro. But our explanation, or my explanation, I should say, would be like it's electrical storms up there that are interacting with the firmament, and they're causing pieces of it to fall off and look all burnt up, or perhaps.
All right then.
Oof, man, I picked a bad day to come back. This one puts me like in the hot seat. I feel we're only on the first slide.
No, I mean I asked for an objection and I did receive. That was a pretty good objection. I mean, because it's logical that there would be, like, if there was a dome, there'd be pieces of it kind of like flaking off or whatever, just because of like what you said, basic.
Yeah, electrical storms going on up there. You know, winds, currents,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
types of you know break it off.
Let's look
Go
at
for
cave
it.
formation real quick. Limestone that is concentrated within channels and chambers throughout the crust is dissolved by acidic carbon and opens a hole. So basically, rain comes down, and where there's little chambers of limestone, it just kind of eats away at it, and this forms a cave, right? So,
Yeah, theoretically, we could have some dome caves in the dome. I don't know, maybe. I don't know how thick the dome is.
well, I'm not talking about the dome.
I know,
The,
but I'm just saying, like, this kind of makes sense. If there's waters above the dome, there could be some type of cave tunnel structures up there, and that can also account for some of the what we will say are meteors that are on Earth. I'm
okay.
sorry. Go ahead, bro. Carry
Yeah,
on.
that kind of, I see what you're saying, but that kind of derives from the point I'm trying to make here, or establish. Limestone. It's dissolved, like it's dissolvable. It's just acidic um, composition of water, just kind of naturally eats away at it, and it will open up a hole in the earth where limestone chambers used to exist. So water seeps through the cracks in the rock, underground streams carve into the rock, and large cave system develops. Pretty simple. In the textbooks, they'll teach you this took place over millions of years, because of the stalactites that they say take millions of years to form. Little droplets, that come down and then carry with them that limestone, which slowly develops into like a icicle formation. And they say that it's like a centimeter per 20 years. I don't know what the number is, but it's ridiculously small. The growth rate is very small over millions of years. That's their model for cave formation, when realistically it can happen pretty rapidly. And that's really not the point of the thing. So I'm kind of rabbit trailing like like Iger, because our minds go all over the place. So you'll have to apologize. I'll have to apologize, but uh, the same thing is happening before the flood, because you have a large amount of the Earth's surface water today, under the crust. The limestone, because of the fact that the water is going to come to a point where it's supercritical, far past the point of boiling, over the centuries before the flood, it will actually eat at the ceiling and the chamber floor. Okay, so the mantle under the crust and the granite bedrock on top. You got all that water in between, which will eat at both of those things and develop channels and stuff like that. So very porous and brittle, and then it's all going to accumulate on the bottom of the chamber floor. And then at the time of the flood, it will be swept up into the high velocity flow. Here's the theory: supercritical water made the crust porous and brittle over time. This saturation of the soil dissolved various minerals in the crust of the earth. These minerals precipitated onto the bottom of the chamber floor and accumulated until being swept up to the earth's surface by the fountains. So on the surface, which is today's established geologic layers of strata, it is recycled dirt and rock. And the cementing agents were from this very process, a chemical formation of the majority of limestone that is on the earth today. There are vents on the bottom of the ocean floor, limestone chimneys that tower 180 feet above the surrounding seafloor. The Lost City is a region with many reverse stalagmites that form limestone chimneys in the mid-Atlantic Ocean. The process is well understood. So global drainage of the crust after the flood is what formed the caves. The cementing agents were available by that process. So that's a good explanation, and it is evidence that the limestone had to come from something else, to form all the strata and all of that limestone that is on the earth. Just the origin of limestone itself is a pretty heavy task to dive into scientifically because there's a lot of it and it all can't be formed organically from the microscopic organisms that live in the ocean. A lot of it had to be formed chemically. This is the best explanation. The deposits on the chamber floor were jetted into space. The dirty ice accumulated by gravity in space and developed into comets, meteors, asteroids, and trans-Neptunian objects. This high-velocity flow is obviously going to launch chunks of the Earth out into orbit. And so if that's true, you would see, so there's the hypothesis. Okay, if a miracle happens and this somehow ends up in prestigious scientific literature published in Nature or something, then it would be considered a theory. But right now, you should open your mind to the possibility that this could be, an explanation. Iger has presented another explanation, which you need to accustom like a flat Earth model too, which is fine. But regardless, you don't have to swallow everything that the textbooks teach about limestone and about comets. There are other more biblical interpretations. As long as you want to keep the Bible literal, there's no other reason. There's no reason to do otherwise. But still there, Iger?
Yeah, I'm following you. So in this theory, or hypothesis, I guess you called it, you got the limestone being jetted out into space and creating asteroids and meteors.
Well, not
After
well. Yeah, a lot of some limestone, but mostly like the Earth's mass in general, like you know the rock and the dirt that was there before the flood, because of the Earth's opening up, right, like a crack, and that water is coming out of it to flood the Earth. The flood has to come from somewhere, so that's the best explanation. You got hydroplate theory, catastrophic plate tectonics, with Dr. Andrew Snelling and Steve Austin and them guys. So that's the best explanation is something like this had to, you know, launch a lot of water. And with that, obviously, like dirt and rock and mud is going to be launched up with it.
Gotcha.
Here's a calculation by Walt Brown, has a PhD in engineering. The energy required to blast the total mass of all meteors, comets, and asteroids to at least half the distance between Earth and the Sun or another planet is equivalent to around 17 trillion hydrogen bombs. And this energy was released over the course of 40 days. So that's how much energy that you have to have, and that's why there's what's known as a heat problem. What do you do with all of that heat? And there you go back to part one of this presentation if you want to take a deep dive on that. So if you could do an experiment with a water gun and a real gun, okay? Water guns are better examples, I guess. A stream of water ejected by pressure and a bullet accelerated by gas have the same basics in physics. That is, as long as the air pressure or the gas remains within the chamber, the object will continue to move until it like exits the chamber, right? And then it's only going to go so far. But as long as you have a steady pressure, that the stream is going to continue. So this is good, I guess, how do you say, illustration of what's going on with the fountains of the Great Deep. Just the weight of the crust itself squeezing all of that water out is just going to keep that pressure going. So, what's being released, and is it falling back down? Or could it be that outer space is real, unlike what Peter Lien would suggest, or maybe even Iger suggest that space is not real. But if space is real, obviously stuff's going to be launched out of orbit. And if there's a dome, well, then a lot of that dome is going to be obliterated just by the pressure of all this stuff. So what is I'm interested, Iger, the exact, like the flat earth model for the global flood, because you believe in a global flood, but it gets kind of tricky. You're going to put it into the perspective of geology and stuff, and what's going on with comets, what's going on with the formation of mountains.
I got a
And
little
I'm not.
I could pull up real quick, actually, if you give me like 2 minutes. It's on my Instagram page. I got to log in. But I'll show you basically how it would all work in the flat earth model. It's been so long since I used the StreamYard, bro. Let me see if I still remember. It's kind of like riding a bicycle. All right. I'm going to share my screen real quick.
Yep.
I logged in already. I'm going to present my screen, I meant. It's a quick little 60-second clip, maybe less, maybe 30 seconds. Somebody actually build a little bubble world. Make it big. Yeah, I can make it big. All right. So we got some type of vortex going on in the middle here. A lot of flat earthers will hold to like even where the Garden of Eden was at the center of the North Pole, and there's so many mythology going to the North Pole. Even Admiral Burr wrote in his diary, which was like Indiana Jones of the 1950s, of how there's like a vortex in the middle he got sucked into. So, anyways, here's the Earth being filled up with water, and you got Noah's little boat being on top of the boat up there, and then once you close up the windows of heaven, then see. I will say that maybe it's possible that the floor was maybe lower or higher before the flood, and that's why the pressure changed also. But it could just be that the pressure changed after the flood, and the Earth stayed at the same level it was at. Might have rose a little bit too. I don't know, because we got to dig through everything to find all these pyramids and. But yeah, I don't know if that kind of makes sense to you what you're seeing right now, but kind of how it will work. The flood on a flat Earth, and an enclosed Earth system.
Well, then if there was like, then like anything that was launched up by the flood, look, show that one more. I don't, because I've seen this before, but let's see.
Launched up because well.
According to this, it's really just like filling up, and that would make more sense
than
a
just how filling
model.
up and everything out. For
Yeah.
sure, yeah, it would make a lot more sense than the flat Earth model. One of the reasons, what they call it Arkham's razor, right? Like, what makes the easiest solution is usually the right answer or whatever. So when you gotta have so many theories gluing the heliocentric model together. You got gravity keeping you on the floor. You got gravity keeping the atmosphere at just the right amount of place. It doesn't pull it down back to Earth. You got the gravity keeping the moon orbiting around the Earth. You got gravity. Gravity's just magic, it pulls things down and makes them stick to the ground sometimes. Sometimes it keeps things orbiting. It's just gravity is just magic. It's magic. It does whatever you need it to do. It's the go-to answer for the heliocentric model. When things don't make rational sense, you just say gravity and it solves it all.
Well, with a heliocentric flood, the same thing is kind of happening, except you have to account for a canopy theory, which suggests that the flat Earth model of the dome is correct, except that the dome doesn't exist anymore. So the theory changes from there. But with a dome established before the flood, it says that the windows of heaven were open, and so if there was like holes, not like from the fountains of the great deep,
Yeah,
they would launch, material, in
yeah,
contact with and south poles that could release air pressure that was once contained, and then this would, yeah, then the Earth from there it just fills up with water because I don't, it's not necessarily from the air pressure pulling it up, which is what's happening here, but really from it being squeezed out from under the Earth. If you look at the hydroplate theory, but in with a flat Earth, this does make more sense. Just to, but I mean, is God in this flood model? What is causing the release of the pressure? Is that just and what evidence is there of some kind of open closed window that would allow that to happen? Like I don't know if any scientific explanation have been
all
made.
right, all right. So there, there is something to what you're saying, kind of too, because it's windows of heaven, right? So it's not just one center hole that's up there, like this experiment. So the Milky Way, believe it or not, the Milky Way used to be called the Great Rift. So Christians used to say the Milky Way, which kind of looks like a crack in the dome here from Earth, is looks like a cloud in the night sky, basically, and it kind of encircles the whole dome. I want to say close to the equator. I will have to get my planisphere, but regardless, the Milky Way, what we see here as the Milky Way galaxy, you can actually see it. It used to be called the Great Rift, and I don't know where I was going with that, so I'm gonna yield my time. But I just wanted to throw that out there.
Nice. Makes Yeah, it makes sense. It's a good model for that. That'll definitely be useful Saturday night. I talk with Peter. Go over
Peter, all
because
right,
I have to do some research just on
I look
space
forward to that.
itself in order to even have that discussion. Because you'd really have to like, I mean, a lot would have to be disproven like astronomically to say that the space doesn't even exist. There's not a vacuum out there,
Well, well,
not a vacuum there, that's a
oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I'm on the same page with that. Like, kind of like what the thing I just showed you now, the what you just saw. I'm kind of on board with the whole space doesn't exist, and by saying that, I'm not saying that the sun's not up there, the moon's not up there, but the whole vacuum and gravity keeping things orbiting together is space is not what we're told. It's water. It's all electrical and magnetism. Nothing to do with gravity. It's more like a magnetic, electrical, and water filled space on top of the dome. So that's gonna be an interesting show to watch Saturday.
Oh yeah. All right. So with gravity, yeah, if gravity, Iger, you disagree that gravity exists, so I respect that. I'll say if
Correct.
gravity exists, you have material being launched from the Earth. Now, if you launch like a cannonball, if you were able to launch it fast enough, uh, it would actually go outside of Earth's atmosphere. It would be launched into orbit, just begin to fall around the Earth, and it would fall endlessly, is what an orbit is. Something falling endlessly. So the movement of comets is uh, this is what's happening. Comets orbit around the sun like a ball being thrown into the air. It begins to fall after it reaches a certain height. Comets travel away from the sun until they reach a certain distance and return in the opposite direction and travel the same distance. The orbit of comets is a repetition of this feature. It endlessly falls because it's away from the center of gravity. It's at a point where it can orbit. It's just what the physics of it is. Um, the tail gets longer the closer a comet gets to the sun, so it produces a tail, and this is visible. Now, if you deny the origin of comets, Iger, where are you saying that all the astronomical photos and stuff of comet tails, that's just like propaganda?
Can we pull one up real quick just on Google, just like a picture of Halley's comet here from Earth?
Yeah, you can.
I can do
I
it. All right.
You want me to pull one up, or you want to?
I could do it. The way
All
I've
right.
seen it, and especially after the dome with the waters above. When you actually look at comets, and also to give young Earth creation some credit, bro, because when I watched Ken Hobbins' seminar here, he talks about how there's no way these things can last forever. They're up there, they're burning up. That's what you're seeing. The tail is supposed to be debris. How do they last millions and trillions of years? How big are these things that they just got? Um, 1986. Man, a lot of these pictures look kind of fabricated to me, but maybe this one might be all right. Oh, I'm not even sharing the right screen. Hold on. But yeah, so I'm saying, man, whatever the comet is it seems to be. It's kind of like when you see a light on top of a pool. If you were at the bottom of the pool, you will see something similar. So whatever the comet is it looks more like a light coming straight up from above the waters above.
Well, what about the
That's
ones in outer space?
right. What we see, I don't like what you see here. It doesn't look like a solid rock. It doesn't look like an object. It just looks like a light shimmering from above the earth. You don't see. I mean, unless you go to NASA footage, then you're gonna see some solid rock flying in space. But from Earth, all you're gonna see is a little light. It looks more
Yeah.
like a light being shown through the pool, and so that's why I stick to that as opposed to it's some type of rock orbiting around the sun and whatnot. It's more to me. It's more like I said. It's more electrical. It's more magnetic. It's some type of light that's being shown from heaven. After the waters above will be the third heaven, God's throne, God's kingdom, where all His heavenly hosts are, all His cherubim and other angels. So it's more of light from heaven above that we're seeing. Same thing with the stars and all the heavenly bodies. To me, they're all just lights in the sky. They're not solid at all. Even besides Mars, I want to say Mars and Venus. I think the rest are gas planets, so they're just gas supposedly. What gravity keeps gas together is beyond anybody's imagination. But yeah, it's more like lights. There's lights up there that are. I want to say they're what the light is not the actual source. The source is going to be from heaven above. I mean, there could be some type of light like the solar luminescence that we've seen before, where they put a frequency in a jar and they can create a star in the jar, and that thing will kind of like implode on itself and create a little star. But I would imagine once you turn off the frequency, then that little bubble's just gonna disappear. So yeah, I'm saying this is more like a light manifested by God, by heaven, by the heavenly kingdom. It's
Yeah,
what comets, stars are. All right, bro.
fair
Are
enough.
you?
So it's good that you're here. So we have both sides, we can examine this in every detail. But the comet gets longer the closer a comet gets to the sun. The tails are always directed away from the sun, and then tail, the gas, which is the tail, it points straight away from the sun, and the dust tail curves towards the orbital path. We've been able to trace these individual. I mean, but you can't if you're Iger, you can't go to NASA. But if you do go to NASA, you'll be able to find images where the tail, is just bending towards the particular path of the sun. And there's files and files of all these different images in astronomy. We don't want to get into like the legitimacy of any of that. I'm just stating that it's there, and this is what uh,
I
the
mean,
teacher
I
says.
would imagine. Well, I don't know. I've never seen a comet orbit the sun by myself, but if we're talking about it like an electrical universe again, uh, then a lot of things kind of will work almost the same. Instead of saying gravity, all you're just gonna say magnetism. But what are they exactly? I don't think they're rocks up there. I think they're more like some type of electrical phenomena.
Yeah.
But I could see how they could work like that. Like it's just. I mean, how do you explain that the tail just turns around and faces the opposite direction once it goes around the sun? Like, why does that show out like that? Like, if it's light, like a prism up there or whatever, it kind of makes sense where the light's being reflected, opposite directions from the source, I guess. But if you're talking about a comet, it's going one direction and then it rotates once it goes around the sun. I don't know, man. It seems like you got to do a lot of mental gymnastics to
No, man, that's all basic physics. You ain't even got a bachelor's degree. Let's continue. I don't either. But I'm just saying, like, uh,
hey, how do you know?
um,
I did go to college, bro, but I didn't graduate. So you're
I
pretty
didn't.
active on that. All right, go for it,
I
bro.
didn't. I dropped out of high school. I got a diploma later in a job corps.
Oh, nice. All right, bro. That's irrelevant. Let's carry on with the presentation.
So kinetic energy and potential energy. This is what's happening when a comet or something is in orbit. It goes from kinetic to potential. You got in the middle, you kind of got a mix in between both, and then you have the peak of the kinetic energy, which is energy by movement, uh, in this region. So hopefully you can see the cursor. Inverse square law, you bring stuff in, and the gravitational attraction increases. The sphere of influence, the farther away an object in space travels from a more massive object, the more attractive it becomes to objects smaller than it nearby. So other objects in space, they stop being attracted by like the sun and start being attracted by local bodies that are massive. An astronaut is not floating in space, he's falling stress free, okay? No wind. And it's really fast. He's actually been launched at high speed into orbit. And so it's not a float, he's falling. He's not falling towards the earth. he's falling around the Earth repetitively because it's been launched into orbit, which we already discussed. So free falling begins when the spacecraft stops resisting gravity. So it's resisting gravity. You're stuck to the seat until that damn thing stops. It comes to a halt, and then you see, we've seen the videos. Okay, if they're bloopers or not, I'm just trying to get a concept across. Okay, they stop and they start falling. They're not. It's not like they're floating. So you can simulate that in water. Okay, so that's just good for. It's like a.
Wait,
I don't
you
know.
can simulate this in water?
No, yeah, you can simulate like a what it feels like to be in space in water.
Oh,
So if you were
well,
gonna
that's
make like a NASA blooper or like a fake uh, video about like an astronaut in space, that'd be the way that you would want to do it, is to put them in water or I don't know, just use strings and stuff, I guess. But I'm
there's
not saying that those NASA bloopers are like you should trust the flat Earth. I agree here and say that they're not like some of them are obviously like false and stuff, but maybe it's for educational purposes. I just think that most of them, are legitimate. You have videos, okay? There's live videos going on all the time. Like it is from NASA website, but I mean, I
all
don't.
right.
I'm trying not to veer off topic. I'm just
Yeah,
trying to
yeah,
say
yeah. My
that
bad. I
it's
probably
not
shouldn't have
floating;
even
it's
mentioned
just
it,
falling.
bro.
No, say what you want to say, Iger.
Oh, I was gonna say, have you ever seen a video of a NASA astronaut in vacuum chamber, bro? There's a video of a NASA astronaut in a vacuum chamber, and this guy passes out, bro, and he talks about his he could feel the saliva in his mouth start to boil. So I guess when you're in the vacuum chamber, I don't know, man. For some reason, they don't train in the vacuum chamber. They train in the pool. So it's pretty interesting. I'll see if I
Yeah,
can pull that up, bro. That was an interesting video, honestly. That was the only time I've seen an astronaut in a vacuum chamber, and he collapsed right away within like a minute, and then they had to turn it off and shut it down. But all right, carry on with the slides, bro. I'll be quiet for a little.
no, you're good, Iger. The co-host here. Say what you want. All right. The field of gravity pulls everything towards the center of the Earth. An object at the center of a hollow Earth will begin falling towards the sun at the same rate of the Earth, and an object on the surface is obstructed by the platform, okay, called the Earth. So it's just there's different shifts in gravity here. You have the center of gravity, you have the outside, which is being pulled toward the center, but the center itself is being pulled towards the sun. You still there, Iger?
Yeah, I'm here, bro. I'm just I was looking for this video.
Oh, okay. It got really quiet, and so
Sure,
that scared me. I thought my computer might have been glitching or something.
no, I'm doing. I didn't want the video to start talking over you.
No, you're good. You could say whatever, uh, whatever you feel, man. There's no restrictions on Iger's mic tonight. So the object on the surface is obstructed by the platform. It's so if an object on the surface jumps, it's going to fall on the platform. Now, in the center, it's falling towards the sun because that's where most of the weight, the mass is. The weight. You can go to Isaac Newton. Okay, if you want to read the details on this, the shell must have uniform thickness and density for the two gravity sources pulling on an object and the center balance it out. It gets really complicated. I don't want to get into it. I'm just trying to illustrate a point. Repeated collisions cause gas and dust particles to stick together into larger chunks that eventually become asteroid-sized. A planetesimal process called accretion. And according to evolution, they all came from the Big Bang. Okay, it's shattered this gas and dust and stuff. So there were stars and they were exploding, and eventually, you know, gas and dust started swirling around a massive star, the sun, which would be our solar system. So if this happens in our solar system, this is just fragments from the Big Bang, from the origin of the solar system. But according to the flood model, those pieces of rock and dust and stuff that accreted, that happened relatively recently. It didn't take millions of years. Uh, they were launched into orbit recently. So they have a center of gravity, each of them, and that pulls the surrounding material in, and that's how they collected together and developed that way in space. That's how you got the particles that came from the Earth in space to develop into comets, meteors, and asteroids. According to the textbooks, though, yeah, 4.5 billion years ago, the universe began as an explosion. Okay, nothing exploded, and here we are. Don't judge him. Okay, let's just follow this. Materials radiated outward from the explosion and cooled. And then as dust particles cooled, they formed a disk of dust and ice and gas. And particles spun, they collided. Some stuck and formed larger particles, and the particles formed planets. That's how planets form over millions of years after nothing, like exploded and produced all the matter in the universe. Now, I don't claim to know how that happened. In the Bible, it says that God did this, so that makes sense. But the Big Bang Theory is strictly naturalistic. It says, there was a singularity and, it came from nothing. So I don't know why they would teach that, but it's not a theological argument if you look at the scientific community and the scientific articles. They would say it's a Big Bang. This is how they look at it. This is what the propaganda is. It's part of it's a big reason of Iger's here. It's a flat earther is because he doesn't like the propaganda, and that's why I'm a young Earth creationist, which we both are. It's because propaganda is real, and if you just think about it, why would nothing just explode and produce all of this matter? Is it happening today? Why has it only happened long ago and far away? And how are you going to get all the matter into a single dot, smaller than a proton? That's what they believe the singularity was. And you just have to think about these questions, and you'll soon realize if you're logical and rational, and you're not trying to escape the judgment of God, that this theory is trash. It's garbage. It doesn't belong in a peer-reviewed journal. It belongs in a dumpster fire, rolling down a flight of stairs. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. If I told you a piano fucking exploded in my living room and somebody asked you, hey, well, what caused the piano to explode? I'm like, I don't know. It just happened. Spontaneous combustion. It's not something that actually happens in reality. Unless you're a sorcerer, it doesn't happen. So let's get off the Big Bang Theory. Trans-Neptunian object is any object with an orbit outside of Neptune's orbit. There are three areas of trans-Neptunian objects, and they are the Kuiper Belt, scattered disk, and Oort cloud. Oort cloud, I'm going to have to disagree that one exists, which we'll get into in a minute. But the other one, scattered disk, Kuiper Belt, collection of rock, dust, and gas that's past Neptune, the planet Neptune. Now, Iger, do you think Neptune is an angel?
I would credit all the planets to fallen angels that were here back in the day before the flood, where all the mythos comes from of like the Greek gods and Roman gods and Egyptian gods. So I would say some of the angels were trapped down, in hell with chains and all beneath the Euphrates River. But some of them, according to the Book of Enoch, there's a prison for them up there, and I would say they're in these what we call planets today that flat earthers call wandering stars. I hold to the idea that they're prisons for some of the beings that weren't trapped deep beneath the earth. They were trapped up in heaven.
Do you think that they're at least in this order?
Oh yeah, I think they are in that order.
All
And
right.
it's interesting. You can actually see all these with your naked eye, except for Uranus and Neptune. Like you can't see those with your naked eye. but but they're up there because you can see them with a telescope. Uh, but but it's interesting how they even found them in the first place. It's kind of curious to me.
How
But
did they
anyways,
find?
yeah, for me, they're just the planets now. They're like prisons for the fallen angels. They're the stars that disobey God's command. They don't follow their order. They're not part of a constellation. They kind of do their own thing. They don't, but they're trapped up there now in their
Right.
orbits.
Well, we know something is, there's like planets, so they're wandering stars according to the Bible. There's some names given in the Bible, I guess, but the basic order, which even flat earthers, they would agree to, that they're kind of in this order, and so there's like bodies. Maybe they're angels, maybe they're actual planets, and then there's these other things like discs, gas, dust. But you have to rely, obviously, on images from modern astronomy, private astronomists, okay, NASA, which have a collection of images, that are done. They're taken to do that kind of work in astronomy, and stuff like this is pretty relevant. So the Kuiper Belt. You have radiation. Okay, I don't know if I want to get. Well, let's focus on the yellow words right now. While a comet is at a great distance from the sun, it's it exists as a dirty snowball, several kilometers across. But as it comes closer to the sun, the warming of its surface causes its materials to melt and vaporize, producing the comet's characteristic tail. Comet tails can be as long as the distance between the Earth and the sun. These things are massive. So now that we understand orbit, you have the orbit of a comet. That's according to University of St. Andrews. The radiation from the sun could have reflected off of these huge tails, these huge gas clouds they were produced by objects cooling off after they began leaving the sun. So after these materials are launched from the earth with all that water, which is super critical, it's a high temperature, it quickly cools all this vapor, and then the sunlight actually reflects off of it. The radiation or the heat from the sun can actually push on the cloud of dust. So you have to look at the study of solar sails to really understand this. A proposed method of spacecraft propulsion using radiation pressure exerted by sunlight on large mirrors. So you just replace the mirrors with gas and dust, and you're able to propel it farther so that it's able to actually go past Neptune. And that would be the hydroplate theory model for the origin of these trans-Neptunian objects, Kuiper Belt, scattered disk. Oort cloud's a total hoax, though. So I do like the topic of the Oort cloud. I want to chase that rabbit. So we're gonna stop sharing the screen real quick. And Iger, you probably know some stuff about the Oort cloud too, but this thing is
I I know it doesn't
comets.
exist. Nobody can prove that it exists. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, even with modern astronomy, okay, given that it's legitimate, you still can't get an image of a comet that's very far away at all. I mean, they're thinking that this comet is like thousands of astronomical units away. The distance between the Earth and the Sun, one astronomical is like 96,000 miles. I don't know what it is, but somewhere around that ballpark. And so you just have it's just millions and millions of miles out there. Uh, you could get a good picture of a star, but really at the end of the day, all you're seeing is a dot. Okay, it doesn't. There's nothing there. You may see some different colors using different spectrums of the color graph. Use different. What do they call it? The color spectrum. So you can use different tools. Like thermal and X-ray and what have you to open up different levels of the color spectrum. Be able to see that. So you could change the color of the star. You tell like what it's made of or whatever, theoretically with astronomy. But the point is, you're just seeing a dot. You're not going to see a dot that's being produced by just like a comet. The comet has to come close to the sun in order to produce that tail, so where you can see it. So how are you comets existing in a cloud outside of the solar system? They don't have any tails. How are you supposed to see them at all? It's totally non-observable.
Yeah.
The the Oort cloud is it's just a way to explain how comets still even exist, because they have a lifespan of like 10,000 years max. And so if they're still in orbit, the solar system can't be millions of years old. There's still comets orbiting the sun, unless they're coming from outside their solar system in this Oort cloud, which Oort never saw the Oort cloud. Unless that's happening, there's no reason why they should even exist. So according to the flood model, they were introduced into the solar system recently, being propelled from the Earth. What do you think, Geiger?
Yeah, well, according to my model, they're there for signs and seasons. So whenever we see heavenly bodies and objects up there, is God giving us a sign for something. I don't know what, but you know, they're there for signs and seasons, and it's pretty interesting. A lot of these, especially when you're talking about comets, they're kind of like cyclical, so they come every so many years. You know what I mean? That's how we can predict when they're gonna be there. Is because like Halley's Comet, I forget. It's like every so many years it comes by. So it's like these things have a cyclical nature to them, uh, and that's how we can predict them. Same thing with eclipses and events like that. It's they've been able to predict them for a long time, and it's because they're cyclical events. They happen, and you know the sky's up there for, as a watch, as a calendar for us for humans, even though we forgot how to read it.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that video of the vacuum chamber, but I feel like we're kind of moved away from that. So maybe later we could circle back to it so you can carry on with the
Yeah, we'll
presentation.
get back to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to look at that. But so solar cells, there's the concept. Solar celling of a cooling gas cloud and a swarm of ice, rock, and metal could have propelled the material coming from the Earth far past its orbit and its neighboring planet orbits. Theorized to have formed the ocean, short period comets can only last for 12,000 years, so that's why they have the Oort cloud theory. When the Bible says that comets were produced, theoretically, the Bible says comets were produced. Because, I mean, I don't even know if you could say theoretically. I mean, you have to have comet explanation with the Bible, so you can have the flat Earth or you can have the flood producing the comets. But either way, according to modern science, you know, the propaganda machine, they will say that comets had water, which they do, but they will say that it actually formed all of the ocean. Like a majority of the water on the planet Earth came from comets. And that's actually insane to think about, because you need millions of years. You'd need, I mean, just the comets themselves have a certain composition, which does not, the water on the comets has a certain composition of like hydrogen atoms and stuff, deuterium, and it doesn't match the the uh, the water on the Earth. So if you examine the molecules of the water from comets and then the water from the oceans, you know, certain concentrations of different isotopes and stuff should exist, and they don't. So they just have a different composition, the water in comets, than the water from the Earth. So it didn't seem logical that they would deposit all the water on the Earth, and it wouldn't seem logical that it can exist for any longer than 12,000 years. You know, but they have the Oort cloud, and that's really their religion. You see, if you want to make a religion like the Oort cloud, if you want to make that seem like it's realistic, you don't call it a religion, you call it science, and you slap that science label on, and then bam. So that's all they've done here, really, of taken control of the education system and Uh, they bought and paid for the media, and they have a lot of politicians in their pocket. So now you have the Oort cloud, but that's all it is. It's a tax-supported religion. It has nothing to do with observable science.
Also, I don't know if you knew this, but water actually boils in a vacuum chamber. So if space is a vacuum, the water would have boiled off that comet. It wouldn't be stuck to it. And there's that one's easy to pull water in a vacuum, and you get tons of videos. Water just boils right in a vacuum chamber at room temperature.
I don't know if I've seen that or heard of that.
Yeah, I'll show you real quick because since we're right on that.
All right.
Here, let me show my screen right quick. And that I just pulled that up on Google. It should be easy find for anybody watching this later. It's pretty interesting. Water in the vacuum chamber just boils away, bro. So yeah, if space is a vacuum, bro, all this water is just boiling right off of these comets. But you're right, it is insane to think that millions of comets full of water just bombarded the Earth and created all the oceans and all the water beneath the Earth's crust. Is ridiculous, bro. That would have to be a massive water planet that broke apart somewhere else too, and it just happens to hit the Earth. You know what I mean? Like, where was this water planet at? How come we don't see it happening today? Oh man, let's see if I let me play this video. This is Celsius, by the way, so it's not Fahrenheit. So you add about 50 degrees or so, and then it's kind of like the temperature, maybe 60. I forget what the formula is. I'll fast forward anyways. And here's the guy just putting the lid on his vacuum chamber. Fast forward a little bit. He starts to pump, and then the water just starts to boil. Now, mind you, here it's in a jar, so it's contained. So once it's done, once the vacuum's turned off, it's just gonna turn back into water. But in space, bro, it's just gonna dissipate away into the rest of space if the comets are made of water. All right, he's turning on the vacuum now, so here shortly we should see the water boil. And it's just water being in a vacuum chamber at room temperature.
Well, it's extremely cold in outer space, so I'm not sure if it would. It's definitely going to, I mean, I don't know this. I've just never seen
All right.
seen that.
Carry on
But
with
it's
the
pretty cool.
slides, bro.
If outer space does the water boil, it's gonna cool off pretty rapidly. But you're still gonna have initially, yeah, like gases and stuff.
I guess it will freeze. It boils and freezes. I don't know, bro.
Freezing.
The gas freezes.
Yeah, it's gonna freeze when it enters into outer space. That's why that comets are large collections of ice and dust. So it freezes, but then remaining gas and stuff that's around it theoretically can be propelled by the sun, just the sun's radiation, solar sail. Anyways, I've never seen water boil at room temperature in a vacuum, so that's something else I didn't know about water, I guess.
Yeah, water's pretty cool. Water's pretty cool, bro. Water is very cool.
Here's why. Here's a conclusion for comments. Okay, I think that you could say that this is a fact that a comet, not comment, that's a typo there. It's like a ball swung back and forth, exchanging kinetic and potential energy that remains preserved. Comets were launched into an orbit around the sun, at some point. So you have the Oort cloud, or a spherical outside the solar system, a spherical cloud outside the solar system. generated comets and propelled them into orbit around the sun. That, because they had to come from outside their solar system and be introduced, uh, I guess, seasonally, because it's just randomly throwing stuff into orbit around the sun and it's coming from outside their solar system. That's one theory for comets. And the other is the hydroplate theory, where comets are particles of dirty ice and water launched from Earth into space. Palisite is composed of olivine metallic elements. The olivine is trapped as individual pieces within the metallic substance. The encasing metallic element is denser than olivine when molten. You trap if you see a ping pong ball in a giant ice cube, you would know that the water was something was either holding it there or that water froze rapidly. So the way that you get this to happen is a rapid cooling effect, trapping the golden stuff in the middle, whatever that is. So palisite formed by mixing of olivine with S-rich liquid metal, science direct. And then here's another explanation. You find the ping pong ball in the water, you use the ping pong balls as an analogy of olivine. The water is a palisite. So in order to get them mixed the way that they are, there had to be like a union of the two. So that's what we see in comets and asteroids and meteors, stuff like this. Now, in order to get a mix of things like that, olivine, iron, nickel, water, ice, metals, we know that the mantle is olivine. Like a lot of it is olivine, and there's a lot of iron and nickel in the core of the Earth, in the Earth itself, and the crust. Asteroids, Vesta and Crete together make up over 70% of all asteroids. Vesta has significant observable features of flowing water. Sometimes scientists believe a layer of ice exists on Vesta under the surface. The low albedo of comets and C-type asteroids is probably an indicator of dirty ice present in the rim of the asteroid belt. The same is in the center of the belt, where there is a high concentration of iron and nickel. So were these recently introduced by a flood, or they've just been there for millions of years? You got dirt, ice, olivine, metal, an iron and nickel core. It's very plausible that these could have come from the Earth, because the Earth has the same composition. And if it's being launched from under the crust of the Earth, that would be the point where the mantle is on the chamber floor. So that could explain why there is a mix of iron, nickel, olivine, etc. Mercury and the Moon have large deposits of water ice on their poles. Earth's ice is mostly at the poles, and Earth is mostly water, which gives it life and separates us from the other planets. So the most logical conclusion is that the ice of the other planets came from Earth, since we are the water planet. I mean, why would you think that if you find some living microscopic organism on Mars, why would you assume that it just like evolved there? You would assume it came from the Earth, which is where life is. So I think that's faulty to assume ice on the other planets or the rings around Saturn or even comets came from anywhere else than the Earth itself. Nicholas Short, Planetary Geology. Prentice Hall, the moon and planet Mercury, closest to the sun, have significant heat on their surface. So if the solar system is millions of years old, all that water should have melted. Why? Why, people? Because it's not millions of years old. I mean, get a grip on reality. You got 11 of 31 basins on the moon are on the far side. So we're going to talk about the moon for a second. We're assuming that material from the Earth was launched into space, develops into asteroids. Well, it also made the basins on the moon. It made the craters on the moon. 11 of 31 basins on the moon are on the far side. The odds of this are equivalent to flipping a coin 30 times and getting tails 11 or a few times. It's not very, I mean, you could try flipping a coin 30 times, see if you can get tails 11 or fewer times. And then if you can do that, then you could say that those craters on the moon came from outside of the Earth, like somewhere else. They came directly from the Earth. That's why they're on the near side. A major surprise in the early days of lunar exploration was the discovery that the soft Maria visible from Earth were far more rare on the moon's far side, presumably because of some one-sided influence of the Earth. That's according to Science News, Volume 105. So here's the theory. Hyperconvection during the compression event increased the speed of the Earth's rotation. We're moving on to this other portion here. So 360 degrees. Now that we have established that there was a lot of stuff launched into outer space and there was a lot of energy, and we know you go back to the previous presentations, with all this in mind, here is the last theory for the origin of what is known as East 90 Ridge, and it is a mountain range, a volcanic mountain stretching 3,000 miles directly under the Himalayan mountains. 360 degrees was invented in ancient times to make geometry easier. May also be based on the ancient calendars of the 360-day year. The Earth spins 360 degrees, 360 times in a year, so that would be perfect. And that would be logical to assume that God made it that way. So the ancients also divided the months into 12 months with 30 days each based on the moon phases. This is only off by 5 days with modern astronomy, the knowledge of modern astronomy. So you have what was originally 360, and now the question is, how did 5 extra days get added to it? What is increasing the speed of the Earth's rotation? And with respect to Iger being here, I'll say if the Earth is rotating. But anyways, the Earth rotating at normal speed 360 times a year. If it speeds up, then you're going to increase the days in the year 5 days. So here's what happens. The Atlantic, when it uplifts and creates the mid-oceanic ridge, or the start of it, and you have to go to the compression event, the previous presentations. But this is where the Atlantic mid-oceanic ridge is uplifted. It is released, like springs up out of the crust, which pools on the Pacific side. So when the iron and nickel on the Pacific side of the Earth sink to the core, it will increase the center of gravity's weight, and the rate of the Earth's spin will get faster. When that happens, a rip is going to be created underneath the Himalayan mountains. Iger, do you want to say anything before I continue?
Nah, go for it, man. The only thing is I think the sky's spinning and not the Earth, but with regards to the calendar, bro, I'm still kind of doing a little bit of research, right? Because that is like I know the moon cycles are every 28 days. I know Jamie Russell one time was kind of explaining, he seems to have a good grasp on the calendar, the semi-lunar. They call it because they use like a lunar and a sun calendar, so it's like every so many years it adds a month or something like that. So I don't have a good grasp on that concept yet, but I personally don't think anything changed regarding the spin of the Earth. I think it's always been like the way it is now. We just kind of forgot how to keep track of it.
Okay. So the formation of the Himalayan mountains causes the Earth to roll, which moved the equatorial bulge. There is an equator, and it stations the Earth as a fixed position. Okay, so it's called the magnetic field, and it connects the North and the South Pole. The weight of the Earth, if it shifts, then that equator is also going to shift. So the increased weight of the crust of the Earth itself, near the surface with the Himalayan mountains forming during the compression event, that last phase of the flood when the mountains rise and the ocean goes into the low basins. Okay, so the increased weight of the Earth's crust caused the Earth to tear as the bulge realigned with the equator. For instance, a weak point in the attachment of the seat to the merry-go-round would spell disaster for these kids and these adults that are riding with them. Okay, they're going to be flung off, and that's going to be a bad situation. So, with the Earth, something similar happened. The increased weight of the Himalayan mountains causes a bulge to occur. So the Earth experiences a roll, and so the equator is shifting with that roll, and you have a a new equator established. That's why the Earth is tilted now, because this happened, the formation of the Himalayan mountains. And what happens after that is a rip directly underneath. This is that weak point in the Earth's crust. This is where the mantle underneath the crust, it's going to come up. This would actually be forming, a basalt mountain, basically 3,000 miles long, and it's formed in the same way that the mid-oceanic ridge was formed, just an uplift of the mantle springing up through the crust, through a breach that was created in the crust, and this is the weak point that was created from the Himalayan mountains. This is the best explanation for this East 90 ridge, is what it's called. Other theories are proposed, but I don't think any of them stand close scrutiny. I think that the hydroplate theory specifically offers the most profound and logical and rational explanation for the origin of this and comets and meteors and asteroids and trans-Neptunian objects. A huge amount of energy was released from the Earth, which flooded the Earth and reshaped it, and also produced, the rock and the rings around Saturn, the craters on the moon, the canyons that are on Mars formed, the East 90 Ridge. And God is the one that produced by the flood, which you will be judged by. If, the evidence isn't strong enough to convince you, hopefully the gospel will be. Now, so what was that video that you wanted to show, Iger?
Oh, just astronaut training in a vacuum chamber, but it's like 4 minutes long. Uh, yeah, I guess we can play it real quick. I think, I mean, this is like somebody making a video about it, so it's not. Hold on, let me percent real quick. All right, should be good to go. I'm gonna have to mute myself. It's almost 5 minutes long. 4 minutes 52 seconds.
All right.
We take a break, I guess. But yeah, this one's for you, bro. So yeah, it's just curious that when they have, you could call this another NASA blooper, bro. This guy goes into the vacuum chamber, and then if water boils in a vacuum chamber, bro, then your body's made mostly of water. What's gonna happen to you? You got these astronauts up there. They're like laughing around, doing front flips and back flips, and we gave them $60 million a day, $25 billion a year, just to go up there and play around and do nothing basically. But
Yeah,
also,
well, that's a large claim, just to claim that with no air pressure that you're gonna have, no pressure, air pressure, it's gonna boil. Like, that's a pretty large claim. I don't know how. I've not done any research on water boiling in a vacuum. I'm sure that it is not true though, because if it were, then yeah, what you're saying is true. Should not trust that someone does.
I remember too, like in 2018, they had a leak, bro, and this they put duct tape on this leak that supposedly the International Space Station had a leak as big as like it was like a quarter, almost like a quarter size leak. Um, and yeah, they're just up there dancing, doing backflips, doing nothing, bro, nothing, just collecting our money and who knows, just deceiving mankind. Also, I found out the Space Force, bro, they get $25 billion a year too. So what have they done? I have no idea, bro. Other than delete YouTube channels and Instagram pages, who knows what these people are doing? But they're getting a ton of money with and not really producing anything. But anyways, here's the video.
But the ultimate and most dangerous test was a huge, specially constructed vacuum chamber.
They were able to pull all the air out, create a big vacuum, just like it would be on the moon. That way we could test our suits to make sure there was no leakage.
One such test narrowly avoided disaster. Jim LeBlanc was the test subject in the vacuum chamber. Cliff Hess, the supervising engineer outside.
Jim, while you're exercising, I'd like you to stay intermediate all the time, okay?
I'm pretty cool right now.
Okay, well, you'll warm up here in a minute, so let's stay right here if you can stand it.
The testing started just normally, like they all do. And Jim was at a vacuum in the spacesuit.
I feel pretty good.
With all the air sucked out, all that protected him was his pressurized suit. Then something happened.
I heard over the headset that he was losing suit pressure.
The tube pressurizing his suit had become disconnected.
Feel it, valve is open.
He was in serious danger.
Repressurize the chamber.
There really wasn't any feeling. It was just happening so fast, trying to get the chamber back to a safe pressure and Jim to a safe pressure inside the suit.
As I stumbled backwards, I could feel the saliva on my tongue starting to bubble just before I went unconscious. And that's kind of the last thing I remember.
Essentially, he had no pressure on the outside of his body, and that's a very unusual case to get. And there's very little in the medical literature as to what happens when you have that. There's a lot of conjecture, that your fluids will boil.
Within 25 seconds, a co-worker sitting in a partially pressurized antechamber and wearing an oxygen mask was able to dash in. At the normal rate of repressurization, it would have taken 30 minutes to make the chamber safe. Hess repressurized it in just over a minute.
That's much, much faster than you would ever come down in an airplane. It would really hurt your ears if you did that.
Finally, it was safe to let a doctor in. Miraculously, LeBlanc had already regained consciousness.
Oh, low suit pressure. No, I'm feeling okay.
When I stood up in the chamber, I felt fine. My ears ached a little bit from the course of rapid repressurization. And that's basically the only effect I had.
It was one of the few instances where anybody was ever exposed to that low of a pressure and lived to tell about it with no obvious damage.
Such an accident in space would have been fatal. But thanks to testing like this, no astronaut has ever had to face a similar situation.
What's up, guys? I've been reading comments and a lot of you been asking to put water in a vacuum. So let's check it out. So I got water over here. We're gonna fill it up the beaker with water. Boom. Then we're gonna cover it with the vacuum chamber and then turn it on and see what happens. You can see a little bit of bubbles start going. And whoa, it started boiling. How cool is that? Looks like it's boiling a lot. Wow. Pretty awesome.
Did you know that you can make a full-time income from YouTube without ever trying to grow your own channel? It's true. Back in
What?
2020, I made over.
I didn't know.
Yeah, buddy. So yeah, also in the vacuum chamber. So I don't know how these ice balls made the oceans. It's all a mystery to me.
I'm gonna have to look at that skeptically and re-examine that later. I don't know what that is because I've never heard of that. Seems like an interesting component to the flat Earth. I must have missed.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot that it's hard to explain with this heliocentric model, bro. Everything works better on a electrical universe where God spoke everything into existence, and we're just living in His frequency, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And up is up and down is down, not relative to where you're at. If you're in Australia, up is one way, and you're here in America, up is the other way. When it's just nonsense, bro. It's all just nonsense. All right, bro. What's next on your slideshow?
You're next, Tiger. What's been happening? What you been doing?
Oh, not much, bro. Just hanging out with the family a lot. I have I have two kids, so I've been spending time with them, and work schedule's been kind of crazy, so I'm not.
Like going to the park? What do y'all do?
Yeah, I went to the park today, bro. We went. I took the little one to the park. Took him to go see a 3-year-old. Yeah, the 3-year-old. I took him to go see the park. They have a lake there. We actually saw an alligator in the lake, bro. And there's
Oh my
like a
God.
ton of, yeah, it's like it's not like in the middle of the wilderness. This park, it's
Huh?
like in the middle of the neighborhood. And but it was a little gator. It's probably like a 2-footer, 3-footer.
Oh wait, you're in Florida, so yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it was like a little alligator. I'm like, oh crap! And it's a little lake. It's not a big lake. And in the big lake, I would expect to see alligators, but on a little lake like that, I was like, oh man, that's kind of odd. There's just a gator there. I would imagine somebody probably had it as a pet and just let him go. But he was tiny, bro. He wasn't threatening at all. He was in the water. And then the ducks are out there in like the beach area. So we're playing with the ducks. He's big into trying to save the animals and stuff. So yeah, that's what I've been doing, bro. Spending time with the family, working.
Dude,
And,
we
not
swim
spending
in the
that much
lakes in
time.
Oklahoma.
Huh?
We actually swim in the lakes in Oklahoma.
Yeah, we swim in the lakes here too, bro.
What are you crazy? Fucking
Yeah,
alligators?
man.
They're everywhere in Florida.
Well, if they're big enough, and it's like a public lake, like where people visit a lot, you call the animal people and they'll come remove it if it's something threatening. But for the most part, people go swimming
Yeah,
in the
but
lake, bro. We have like and granted, any lake that you're swimming in, usually if you see a gator, they won't be there for long. They'll get transplanted somewhere else where it's not like a common swimming place. But yeah, we do water skiing in the lakes, jet skis. There's all type of sports that you do in the lakes. But for the most part, they don't have gators in them. The ones that you do stuff like that. They're like more recreational centers, per se. They're not wilderness spots where if you're on the wilderness, bro, you just because man, we swim on. There's a place called Wakaiva, and you could go swimming there in the pool, and then it's kind of fenced off, and it turns into a little river, and you can go canoeing down the river. You wouldn't swim in there because there's a lot of gators in there. Like you see them every couple minutes. You'll see, and there they'll keep like up to like maybe a 5 foot or 4 foot alligator. Once they get to a certain size, they'll relocate them somewhere else. But it's pretty here in Florida, bro. So much nature. There's no mountains,
Yeah.
but we got a lot of lakes.
I would just be scared of the lakes and yeah, be real skeptical.
Yeah,
How often does that actually happen? Somebody get attacked by an alligator in one of the local lakes?
probably as often as shark attacks. I don't think they're that common. I think for the most part, gators run away from humans. They don't usually charge at humans. They're more afraid of us than we are to them, type of deal, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, for the most part, I would imagine this is common as a shark attack, which is maybe I'll look it up. I'll look it up real quick. I don't want to give you fake numbers. Gator attacks on Florida a year. And then you know they bite you, and this one for 2022. 4 people have been killed in the alligator attacks nationwide, two of which were in Florida. So far this year, there's been 2 deaths by alligators in Florida.
But only 4 in the entire United States?
Yeah, and half of them are in Florida.
Damn.
Who knows where the other?
That's a super low number. I guess alligators just... I thought it was way more frequent than that.
Nah, it's pretty rare, bro. Here's I just put gator attacks Florida 2021. Alligator attacks do happen in Florida, but not at an alarming rate. The state has an alligator population of more than 1 million. The State Fish and Wildlife Commission said in November 2021 that there were 442 unprovoked alligator bites in Florida from 1948 to 2021. So only 442 unprovoked gator bites in Florida for the last 70 years. And that's not saying deaths, that's just saying bites. So most people that get bit by an alligator, they might lose a finger or 2, but you know they usually live to tell about it. And that's
interesting.
Yeah, 442 since 1948.
You would think.
I would imagine like most of them probably happen like at those parks, you know, like Gatorland, where people are like wrestling alligators. That's probably where most of them probably come from, where they're intentionally, you know, provoking the alligator and trying to make a show out of it. Did we lose you, Chris? Okay, you're still that good.
I thought that they were more aggressive and hungry than that.
Nah, bro, we got so much wildlife here in Florida. I think it's a good place for the apocalypse, but we don't have mountains. And since you know, I got that verse stuck in my head, I feel like eventually I need to go up to the Appalachian Mountains. I think that's what they're called, Appalachian Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
Will be my ultimate escape. But for now, life is good in Florida. Look through the hurricane, bro.
Dude, do you have any music? I need to try to get this laptop back up, and then I can close this out. But right now I'm on my phone, and my phone I submerged in water. It's glitching out super bad.
Yeah,
crazy. I'm trying to get another phone really soon. But if you got like I know you got music on your playlist and stuff.
Yeah.
And I like a lot. What about I don't know, something Young Earth? Because a lot of your stuff is flat Earth. But that one guy does Young Earth stuff, the dude with the cowboy hat or whatever. He's hilarious.
Cowboy hat? What are you talking about?
Man, I don't know.
Oh,
I know in a couple
that guy.
of videos he had a cowboy hat.
Oh yeah, that guy. I don't know if he does Young Earth music. The one group that does flat Earth music a lot is Destiny Lab, but they're cool, bro. They're not flat Earth. authors, as far as I know, but they're young Earth creationists. But the thing with them is some of their music is a little creepy because they, everybody has a past, and it varies from person before we all got saved and converted. And with them, I think that we're messing around with maybe some witchcraft stuff. So you see that in their music a lot, like they reference witchcrafty things.
Oh yeah, they're like on
And
another level.
Yeah, try to pull people out of that. And for me, I kind of got stuck on the whole geocentric, heliocentric thing, but that brought me to Flat Earth, so it's beautiful. But I like their music. They have a lot of good end time music. But what I got for you today? There's a random song, and it's like a one-hit wonder. You're gonna restart your laptop?
Yeah. Well. Actually, I don't even know if I can get a share screen going on here without the laptop.
I think I'm already
it's super
sharing
complex.
the screen. I just happen to be sharing the screen already, so I could just toggle back to this screen here.
Oh
Where
yeah,
is
okay.
my music playlist? I have so many playlists already.
Yeah,
I
you.
spam myself.
I forgot you was already sharing the screen. Stupid.
Yeah, so we're good if you want me to share anything, bro.
Yeah, just like play a little like a music video or something, and then I'm gonna be back momentarily.
All right, sounds good.
They think we're something strange, aliens without a brain, crashing down upon a planet and invading their domain. Yeah, we go to church and put this cross up on display, but the hatred of the gay is all the media portrays. They showed us with the rock and now it's never gonna stop. They just put us in a box so they can tear us down and mock. If they crucifying Jesus, what you think they'll do to us? If the students like the master, then this lesson's gonna get tough. They like the product focus in the movie. On the low, cause the crazy Christian guy is now the butt of every joke. They thinking that their school is full of nuts with this pollution, kicking prayer up out of schools and now they're teaching evolution, moving with the rules and filling up the institutions with the generation trapped inside the safety and solution. If you're thinking that we're snoozing, boy, you're about to wake a giant, just exposing all the fraud and fables that you call it science.
Yeah, they want to call it science, but it's pseudoscience. And intellectual defiance, man, it's pseudoscience. Your monkey's no match for the lion from Zion. We're not in compliance, refusing to buy into the pseudoscience. They want to call it science, but it's pseudoscience. Intellectual defiance, man, it's pseudoscience. Your monkey's no match for the lion from Zion. We're not in compliance, refusing to buy into the pseudoscience.
Folks, I want to tell you, for the church right now, the issue we must address are these lies of scientists. These lies that of evolution, the heliocentric view, the lies of NASA, and all of these are the lies that are turning a generation and have already turned many people away from knowing their creator, the God of the Bible, the Lord Jesus.
I was made inside his image with these features on my face. Meet me at a line of scrimmage if you feel like a debate. Bring your books in charge, propaganda by the stack. But I'm bringing fossil evidence of dinosaurs attack. Buried with the human race of people in a grave, with the illustrations saved inside a 1,000-year-old cave. 6,000 years, the planet has been here. Not a trillion, billion, 100,000 that you hear. Man made mistakes and now the science isn't clear. But still they want to say that the truth and not the fear. They say we came from apes. I'm asking this of you. Where's the missing link with fossil evidence to prove? Museums like the lion rig up dummies at a pace. Put a creature on display and say that they have solved the case. Evolution is religion, it's a fact that I'm a mistake. Cause believing in this system, man, you gotta walk by faith. Hey man, let's make one thing clear. Evolution is a religion, man. It takes an extreme amount of faith to believe that nothing came from something. That little something that created in the Big Bang is what we see here today. Come on, man.
Yeah, they want to call it science, but it's pseudoscience. Intellectual defiance, man, it's pseudoscience. Your monkey's no match for the lion from Zion. We're not in compliance, refusing to buy into the pseudoscience. They want to call it science, but it's pseudoscience. Intellectual defiance, man, it's pseudoscience. Your monkey's no match for the lion from Zion. We're not in compliance, refusing to buy into the pseudoscience. Yeah, they want to call it science, but it's pseudoscience. Intellectual defiance, man, it's pseudoscience. Your monkey's no match for the lion from Zion. We're not in compliance, refusing to buy into the pseudoscience.
Christians are going to have to stop. I'm telling you, we're going to have to stop submitting to this Antichrist system, to this evil system. I'm talking about in the medical, in the pharmaceutical, in every realm. Just because they call it science does not mean it's right or it's ethical or it's even true. We've got to wake up. But so many people just accept it. Oh, recent scientists say, a recent study says, NASA says, and you're like, okay, I believe it because they said it. Well, if you just believe it because they said it and you can't prove it and you have no evidence, then you are walking in faith.
You know, I don't understand sometimes what a terrible burden it is to know some of the things I know and try to wake people up and impart this knowledge to them and find out that they just have walls built in front of them. They want to be slaves.
Now, I risk sounding like a conspiracy theorist, but it's no longer a theory. What I'm about to say is fact. The secret organizations of the world power elite are no longer secret. They have planned and are now leading us into a one-world communist government.
ODD-TV. Take a journey with me deep inside the rabbit hole. Wake up, my friends, there's some things that you have to know. Everything you ever thought you knew, it has to go. For instance, NASA is the world's largest magic show. 9/11 was planned demolition in San Diego. Was a scam. Come on, man, are you tripping? Constant programming being crammed in your vision. Just take a step back and examine this prison. Turn on the news and they're trying to blind you. All they ever do is tell you lies and divide you. There's nowhere you can even hide. They'll find you. Illuminati, all-seeing eye right behind you. It's about time you find out we're being lied to. They're attempting to control the mind that's inside you, hide you from the power that designed you. Does anybody have a problem with this? Well, I do. I want the truth, and nothing but the truth. They say they got it, but they're never coming up with proof. If you look and then they got you jumping through these hoops, the lies always continuing to rise and busting through the roof. I want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. They say they got it, but they're never coming up with. If you're looking, then they got you jumping through these hoops. The lies always continuing to rise and busting through the roof. They're lying to us about everything. How can this be? I know I'm not crazy, and yet I'm questioning my sanity. I see what the Illuminati's doing to humanity. The truth is stranger than fiction. We're living in a fantasy. What I'm witnessing is unreal. It's a one-way battle for us cattle going uphill. If we don't stand and fight now, then no one will. Our children will never know freedom. It's a done deal. The future's not looking so promising. It's the poor who go to war while the rich keep on profiting. It's us that they're slaughtering and money that they're honoring. And soon it's gonna be the new world order that they're offering. It's mind-boggling how so many don't seem aware. If they are, it's like they really just don't even care. Our world is broken and I'm hoping it can be repaired, but we'll have to fight for it, so just be prepared. I want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. They say they got it, but they're never coming up with proof. If you're looking, then they get you jumping through these hoops. The lies always continuing to rise and busting through the roof. I want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. They say they got it, but they're never coming with proof. If you're looking, and then they got you jumping through these hoops. The lies always continuing to rise and busting through the roof. Forget the politicians. Politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. Got you by the balls. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking.
Do not consent to the war to use to kill the poor. We do not consent to get taxes and mandatory vaccines. We do not consent to the GMOs that grow. We do not consent to adhering your geoengineering. We don't consent to the floor and the water supply, blinding our third eye and keeping us compliant. We don't consent to the wars you wage every day, bombing innocent children hundreds of miles away. We don't consent to you hiding our true history, or your secret societies keeping it a mystery. Cause you've been lying to all of us for centuries. Now it's time we break through your green screen reality. There won't be a rock and turn for y'all to be hiding. You're unprepared for the upcoming uprising, and no denying that you've ruled for too long. And we're chipping away at your bomber with each song. We use the truth to put an end to the abuse. Once you see what's to come, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes. You think we're just lambs lining up for the slaughter, but we're here to make your new world have no order. We do not consent to the wars we use to kill the poor. We do not consent to get taxes and mandatory vaccines. We do not consent to the GMOs that you grow. We do not consent to adhering your geoengineering.
We don't consent to the chemicals you're spraying above us. We don't consent to the criminals you're paying to run us. We don't consent to your false flag attacks and shooting hoaxes. We're standing up now and letting you know we're truly focused. We don't consent to your central bank or your corporation. We practice discipline, citizen insubordination. We don't consent to the 1% having everything. We don't consent to be puppets, we're cutting every string. I know one thing for certain, they won't control me. You had to have heard the name by now, they call me OD. I don't consent to the media telling lies to me. I don't consent to them engineering society. It's time to take over this shit, so now we're locked and loaded, ready for anything that happens at any moment. We're wide awake, there's no way that we'll ever go back. Never sleep again, and we wanted to let you know that we do not consent
to the wars you use to kill the poor.
We do not consent
to get taxes and mandatory vaccines.
We do not consent
to the GMOs that you grow.
We do not consent
to adhering your geoengineering.
We do not consent.
Evolution teaches everything from primordial soup. Alien
billions and millions of years ago, we all from single-cell bacteria. A new religion is beginning to overcome the minds of the young. In the name of evolution, invading all of education, tricking them to listen to Darwinian fiction. Sorry, Charlie, these tricks are for kids. You can't trick the truth, cause I just blew off the lid. See now, everyone wants to know exactly where we came from. Was it really God, or all we just paused from? Charlie said you and me came from the sea. Swim on the land until we turned into disease. Charlie, please, what's in between? Ever seen a half giraffe, kangaroo with wings? Or write about a platypus? Explain it to us. The fossils that travel vertically in the Earth's crust. Why do we listen? Human amnesia. What we're missing is the knowledge that feeds ya. 10 trillion years of evolution can never account for the creation that we live in. 10 trillion years of evolution cannot account for the creation that we live in. 10 trillion years of evolution can never account for the creation that we live in. 10 trillion years of evolution cannot account for the creation that we live in. Some scientists don't really know any more than your mama. Fighting with each other like drama from a soap opera. Single science from the monochrome monkeys that dabbling in lies that nuts like Jif Chunky. 98% of people claim belief in God, but asked if they believe in evolution, they applaud. That's contradictory. That's called hypocrisy. It's fairy tale time in every university. You could get brainwashed in every major college. Graduate a grown-up monkey with man's knowledge. Where do we come from? Little shocked amoebas? Can it be true that people really do believe this? 10 trillion years of evolution can never account for the creation that we live in. 10 trillion years of evolution cannot account for the creation that we live in. 10 trillion years of evolution can never account for the creation that we live in. 10 trillion years of evolution cannot account for the creation that we live in. The creation that surrounds us astounds us, but we give glory to ourselves, and that's outlandish. We give glory to the earth to the stars, glory to some insignificant rock from Mars. Glory to creation, not creator. Tell me how you get a painting unless you have a painter. How you get a sculpture unless you have a sculptor. How you get a Luke unless you have Darth Vader. Just one way, the narrow path to the kingdom. It's not religion, it's the truth I believe in. With religion, do not spoke to the center. You cannot choose through which God you may enter. God in a whirlwind of indecision known as pluralism. A vision that will leave you unforgiven. For he has risen and freed us from this prison. I know that when I die, my life's just beginning. We have faith in these scientists that what they're telling us is true. I mean, what is truth?
Dang, I closed the screen by accident, bro. But I am looking for
Olympus, approximately 6 kilometers. This estimation, evidently impossible, and which must have probably
the best
the
explanation
metallic
for
nature of the
asteroids.
sky, apart from the one to be found in the Egyptian cosmology. It is not accompanied by sound. That is to say that there is no electrical discharge like in the case of lightning, which causes the vault to split and detonate. It can be surmised that lightning takes place in the thickness of the vault, whereas a comet is a surface phenomena. The orbit of comets, which may be seen to sweep across the vast expanse of the sky, is described as parabolic. This means, in fact, since the passage takes place on the surface of the dome, that the orbit follows exactly the curvature of the same and acquires therefore a seemingly parabolic shape. The formation of comets seem to be due to the influence of the satellite disks of the Earth, hence short detonations called thunderclaps, which are later amplified into loud rumblings and reverberated in the interior of the vast cavern which contains the Earth. It can further be remarked that crashes of thunder are always immediately followed by a metallic resonance similar to that of bronze or brass, and it can be said that this particular resounding, which is clearly perceptible, is certainly produced by the metallic walls of the vault, which are made to shake and vibrate under the stress of the detonations. The ancients have said that rain is part of the waters which exist on the other side of the vault and which pass on to this side through the cracks. It may be remarked in this connection that rain is always discharged at the end of a thunderstorm, that is, after the sound of the splitting of the dome. Otherwise, the thunder has been heard, and this fact would seem to substantiate the theory of the ancients concerning rain. Lightning is a phenomenon which results from the electrification of the vault, but it must be explained that the luminous branches and ramifications which are observed in what is called forked lightning are not lightning at all, strictly speaking, neither do they traverse the atmosphere as is believed. They correspond to luminous electrical currents which travel in the vault of the sky itself, where they follow irregular tracks, probably metallic veins, and it can be also seen that they adopt the convex shape of the vault. These currents contribute eventually to the accumulation at a certain spot of the quantity of electricity which is required to cause a discharge towards the Earth, which occurs then in a direct line. The comets, meteors, and shooting stars are phenomena which their origin, like the so-called forked vault. The author definitely knows this to be the case. Comets are spontaneous, luminous manifestations which are created by electrical reactions occurring in the vault of the sky, and this explains their unexpected and sudden appearances, as well as their rapid and erratic movements, indifferently direct or retrograde. The passage of a comet is not accompanied by sound, that is to say that there is no electrical discharge like in the case of lightning, which causes the vault to split and detonate. It can be surmised that lightning takes place in the thickness of the vault, whereas a comet is a surface phenomenon. The orbit of comets, which may be seen to sweep across the vast expanse of the sky, is described as parabolic. Since the passage takes place on the surface of the dome, the reflected of the same, and acquires therefore a seemingly parabolic shape, to be due to the influence of the satellite disks of the Earth as they pass at certain when they occupy certain degrees of the zodiac, particularly the 29th degree of Sagittarius. In the case of Encke's comet of December 21st, 1795, was at the 29th degree of Sagittarius. In that of Brooks' comet of November 11th, 1911, Mercury was passing at the same degree, and again for Donati's comet, October 2nd, 1858, it was Mars which was effecting its passage at this very spot. The same remark applies, moreover, to the third degree of various signs, particularly Gemini. In the last case mentioned, that of Donati's comet, Uranus was at the third degree of Gemini. For Halley's comet, which returned on March 4th, 1910, Mercury was at the same degree, Venus at the second degree of Libra, Mars at the second degree of Cancer, while simultaneously Saturn passed at the 29th degree of Aries, etc. All these circumstances, which cannot be coincidences, point evidently to the existence of a mathematical law governing the formation of comets through the combined agencies of the satellites when they pass simultaneously at various degrees of the zodiac. And since the satellites have a regular motion, it follows that the periodicity of comets, if it does exist, may be due to this fact. Shooting stars are not to be confused with the stars in the ordinary sense, which form the constellations and move at a very slow pace. They are luminous manifestations which glide rapidly on the surface of the vault of heaven, without any electrical discharge towards the earth. They are thus related to vault lightning, especially as they sometimes can be heard to emit crackling sounds like sparks. Meteors are also luminous phenomena resulting from electrical reactions which occur in the vault of the sky. It has been observed that they are frequently accompanied by detonations and by a sound similar to that of thunder, which is therefore caused by splitting of the dome, so that there can be no doubt as to their real origin. It has been calculated that the height of meteors never exceeds 90 kilometers, and on this figure confirms the estimate which is given further on the probable distance of the vault of the sky from the surface of the earth. From the ancients we know that the heavens at the beginning of time were adjacent to the earth, which is consistent with the primeval dislocation from the surrounding mass, and that they were progressively lifted in the course of ages. This rising of the vault could not have been very great. The mere fact that the latter can be seen through a telescope under the satellite disks of the earth, as well as with the unaided eye, as stated previously, indicates that it cannot be very far away. It is not true either that man's eyesight can cover an infinite distance, even with the help of the most powerful instruments, keeping in mind at the same time a possible magnifying effect due to the different densities of the various atmospheric layers, so that it must be accepted that the dome of the sky is incredibly low. If it were at an enormous distance, meteorites would disintegrate and become pulverized, and rain would be volatilized before reaching the Earth. There is not, and there will never be, an absolutely reliable method whereby the exact distance separating the surface of the Earth from the sky may be ascertained. It is very doubtful, as a matter of fact, whether the laws of physics which apply to terrestrial conditions would still be valid in the case of an upper atmosphere and of the spaces adjacent to the top of the dome, but certain data can be taken into account. The height of the heaviside layer, which is the dome of the sky, has been measured by the time taken by radar waves to return to Earth. This distance has been given as being from 40 to 50 kilometers in the daytime and 90 kilometers during nighttime, but the figure obtained for the day may be considered unreliable, since it may well be believed that an acceleration takes place in the propagation of the waves due to the heat of the sun. It is known, on the other hand, that the thickness of the atmosphere has also been measured, but the atmosphere is invisible, and since the dome is the only surface on which the eye can rest, it is clear that the thickness of the atmosphere means the height of the dome. In the 11th century, the Arabs, by measuring the duration of twilight, assuming that their method is acceptable, established that this thickness is 92 kilometers, and nowadays, by the same method, a figure of 64 kilometers has been obtained. A similar indication comes from the Ceylon, where inhabitants claim that the dome is there particularly low, being only 40 miles high, i.e. 60 kilometers from the Earth, and it does not necessarily follow, whether this statement is based on conviction only or not, that it is untrue. This figure is also consistent with the impression of the author, who has seen and observed the dome of the sky during a sufficiently long period of time to enable its probable distance to be judged as well as humanly possible, and the conclusion is that the distance separating the surface of the Earth from the sky, and which may vary in some places, does not exceed 80 to 90 kilometers. The first telescope used by Galileo, which was of his own construction, had only a threefold magnifying power. Nevertheless, he could with his small instrument see the eminences of the vault, described by him as being the mountains of the moon. That is to say, that instead of saying 80 to 90 kilometers, 50 to 60 might be nearer the mark. The vault of the sky may not be absolutely rigid, but may at intervals alternately recede and advance, so that under these conditions the changes of atmospheric pressure would obviously result from the varying heights of the vault. The azure color of the atmosphere may be due to the presence in the surface of the sky of certain metals or of their alloys, which provide a blue coloring matter, such as copper oxide or cobalt. This latter metal, particularly, which is used for producing blue-colored glass, is found in very large quantities in meteorites, and its color could be diffused by the sun onto the atmospheric layers, even if they do not completely reach the top of the dome, as the latter could cast a reflection from a distance. It might also be inferred that the reddish tint transparent disk of Mars is due to the fact that the part of the dome which underlies its orbit contains iron oxide, which provides a compound of this color. Chapter 5. On the immaterial nature of the satellites of the Earth. The satellites of the Earth are not masses of matter. They are luminous and transparent disks without substance. The moon, in particular, conveys the impression of being an ethereal manifestation, and the uncertain and elusive character which is usually associated with this satellite results precisely from its immaterial.
Advertise in the comment section. Block user. I already blocked the user.
What? I closed the screen by accident, bro. So improvise. But that was one of the best explanations from Flat Earth side on how the comets and heavens work. They did a very good job explaining it. Actually, maybe I could share the video now that you're back for like 5 minutes before I bounce. It's like around here, and then I'll bounce, bro. But I gotta share my screen. I was just I was kind of mixing some video with what the guy was saying, but it didn't really work out the way I wanted it to. Hold on.
All publicity is good publicity, but I got to get rid of that free virtual girls chat. And
Yeah, no, you gotta avoid them, bro.
I did block it, but it still looks like 2 of the comments survived, and now I can't get those removed. So I don't know.
Were you listening in?
Yeah, past 5 minutes or something.
Okay. So you kind of heard it, but they went into detail on how they observe certain things for certain whatever asteroid showers, and it's kind of like they're saying it's like electrical discharge of stuff up there, and it's kind of what I tried to say earlier, but they got graphics and all, so it's probably only like 4 minutes, around 4 minutes, where he's talking about meteors. This is a book called Heaven and Earth by Gabrielle Henriette. She's not a Christian. She's some type of New Age person, whoever wrote this book, but she does a great job explaining the flat Earth stuff. All right, I just wanted to put that out there. I'm not saying follow this like gospel. I'm just saying it's pretty good explanation.
On the other side of the vault, and which pass on to this side through the cracks. It may be remarked in this connection that rain is always discharged at the end of a thunderstorm, that is, after the sound of the splitting of the dome. Otherwise, the thunder has been heard, and this fact would seem to substantiate the theory of the ancients concerning rain. Lightning is a phenomenon which results from the electrification of the vault, but it must be explained that the luminous branches and ramifications which are observed in what is called forked lightning are not lightning at all, strictly speaking, neither do they traverse the atmosphere as is believed. They correspond to luminous electrical currents which travel in the vault of the sky itself, where they follow irregular tracks, probably metallic veins, and it can be also seen that they adopt the convex shape of the vault. These currents contribute eventually to the accumulation at a certain spot of the quantity of electricity which is required to cause a discharge towards the Earth, which occurs then in a direct line. The comets, meteors, and shooting stars are phenomena which all have their origin, like the so-called forked lightning, in the mass of the vault. The author definitely knows this to be the case. Comets are spontaneous luminous manifestations which are created by electrical reactions occurring in the vault of the sky, and this explains their unexpected and sudden appearances, as well as their rapid erratic movements, indifferently direct or retrograde. The passage of a comet is not accompanied by sound, that is to say that there is no electrical discharge like in the case of lightning, which causes the vault to split and detonate. It can be surmised that lightning takes place in the thickness of the vault, whereas a comet is a surface phenomena. The orbit of comets, which may be seen sweep across the vast expanse of the sky, is described as parabolic. This means, in fact, since the passage takes place on the surface of the dome, that the orbit follows exactly the curvature of the same and acquires therefore a seemingly parabolic shape. The formation of comets seem to be due to the influence of the satellite disks of the Earth as they pass certain points of the vault of the sky. Otherwise, when they occupy certain degrees of the zodiac, particularly the 29th degree of Sagittarius. In the case of Encke's comet of December 20.
What's up, Peter? I'll pause. I mean, I'm kind of done with it, but you get it. More like an electrical phenomenon than balls floating around up in the air. It's basic gist of it, and it's kind of my viewpoint on it now, and what comets, shooting stars are.
What's up?
We were talking about
Oh
comets.
no, what's called? Yeah.
Oh. All right, good to see you, Peter.
It was good to see you, man. Okay, so I have a question. Okay, so it's about flat Earth and stuff like that. So you have people in the tribulation who try to hide their face from God, so they're in the mountains, right?
Yeah.
So why? So what's called if the judgment that God's going to pour on the earth, if they want to escape it, why couldn't they just go to outer space and stuff like that? if it was real.
I don't
Well,
think
See?
because it ain't.
space is going to be a good place during the global flood. I don't think any spacecraft. I mean, if you could even manage to find yourself on on Mars, you'd still have problems there because a lot of ice is going to be deposited, and so I don't think.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
even
like
if you tried, if it was possible, which it could have
okay.
been, I believe they probably did know how to shoot rockets and stuff before the flood.
Okay,
It's a
so
little out. I mean, if you were able to get there, yeah, it's not a good scenario. Either way,
okay,
I
but
survive it.
instead of what's called trying to go to a planet, how about just traveling in space and trying to get off Earth in general? Why don't they do that during the tribulation, but talks about them hiding in mountains if they're so rich and have all this money and they can do this kind of stuff?
Oh well, even so, you have a problem getting into outer space and surviving at the flood, and then also at the tribulation because, well, I don't know. Are you saying maybe like Christians that are trying to escape the Antichrist?
No,
Could
I'm
go.
talking about what's called not the Christians, but the what's called the evil people, the what's called the people who are in the Illuminati and stuff like that. They're trying to hide their faith from God because they're in the tribulation, so they're hiding in the mountains. But if they're so rich and space is supposed to exist, why aren't they going off the earth away from the judgment if the judgment is supposed to be poured on the earth? Why don't they just go to space?
They have intentions to establish bases in other planets and
All
stuff,
right, man.
go to space. But
Hey,
they
can I share my
have a
screen
space
real quick?
station in space right now. So, but they're
Can I,
not.
can I share my screen, Chris?
Yeah,
I gotta show you Elon Musk Halloween outfit, bro. I'm pretty sure Peter already saw it, but I want to show it to you.
Thanks, man. Thank you, man. All right.
So you guys gonna be talking about Flat Earth Friday, or what's your topic?
Yeah, Saturday. I mean, space. We're just gonna try to prove to Peter that space is a real place.
I mean, good luck with that.
Look at this guy.
I just can't.
Have you seen this, bro? This is what this guy wore for Halloween, bro. He wore an armor with a Baphomet on it.
The what?
And a cross upside down. Baphomet.
The goat devil looking thing.
Yeah. This custom. Well, this goes online for $7,000. It's called the Devil's Champion. So he's rising as a candidate for Antichrist, bro. We got to play that game again one of these days.
Come on, it's Halloween. We're in the season.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they're kind of showing it straight in your face, though.
It's called the Devil's Champion leather armor.
Well, I saw a little kid dressed up as Jeffrey Dahmer. That isn't really.
Well, when it comes to these elites, these rich people, they're doing it on purpose, though. They're flaunting in front of your face, just like the Hollywood does with music videos. And just like what's called how these globalists, they'll tell you what they're gonna do before they do it.
Yeah, I don't think Elon Musk is a part of the elites.
He has that one
on earth. He's the richest man on earth, bro.
He has that one white jacket that says "One World Order."
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, just like what is that one guy, the CEO of Twitter? He used to be the CEO of Twitter. He had that one jacket where the inside of it had the One World Order in it.
Yeah, that's Zuckerberg from Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's people. I mean, like, these people who are in these globalist one world order stuff. They're in it, and they will show people they're in it, but people won't believe they're in it because they think it's just a conspiracy theory.
I believe people are in it, but not Elon Musk.
Really? I mean, like,
Not
you think he's a
Not
he
Elon
bought
Musk, not Donald Trump.
Wait.
Those guys are not in it. They're gonna lose as a result of it,
Oh,
but they're not in it.
oh, wake up, Chris.
I am awake. I realize
I
that
miss
people
y'all
are in the
anyways, man. I love
Illuminati,
you boys.
but I think that you need to wake up and realize that it's not logical to assume someone like Elon Musk, who has like 9 kids, or Donald Trump, who is just doing the American thing, you know, like he's not a communist, obviously. So I don't know why you would think they'd be a part of the Illuminati. Someone like
well.
what's that one guy with the glasses, you know,
Oh, that's a good
politicians,
topic
Bernie
to chat
Sanders. He would be a more logical, or Hillary Clinton, for someone in the Illuminati, not like a normal upstanding citizen.
You know, Elon Musk. He was the.
Go ahead, Peter.
You know, Elon Musk. Whenever the whole Dogecoin was like going out, and then what's called people were like going, what's called trying. They were playing with the stock market and stuff like that. Elon Musk was playing with people's Dogecoin and making people what's called like put their money in it just to fuck with them, and he got the most benefit out of all that. And the fact that he bought Twitter, saying that he's going to change it, but then he bent the knee to the government. So he's literally like in bed with the government.
For sure, he gets money for paychecks. He gets money from paychecks
claims there, but
from the government.
It's not claims; it literally happened.
Well, that's what you say. That's what you read, and that's what you believed. That doesn't mean that it happened. There's a big difference.
He's trying to crack down on hate speech on Twitter now. He's working with the government.
No, I don't believe that. That's the reason he took over Twitter, was to remove the back. And that's what will happen. So you need to give it time and ignore the propaganda that wants to fight Elon Musk and what he's doing, and believe in what he's doing and support it because it's the right thing.
Holy crap. So the Antichrist does deceive the whole world. So now that Chris Sylvius, a younger creationist, is behind Elon Musk, defending Elon Musk, I will say he rises. He's trying to microchip everybody with the neural link, bro. That's coming up around the corner.
That's not anything to do with the economy. That has to do with getting cripples walking again.
It can also what's called track your emotions. So you know, in case you have any hate towards the government, they'll know.
Yep. Well, he's a smart guy, and I think that it'd be very wise to listen to what he's saying and apply it to society, so that we can have a better technology, more children, for instance, and better workers, more jobs. It's like all things that he can provide. So I don't know why you would deny that if you like this country.
Because
like to live in a
giant
place free of communism. I would suggest, doing some of these things like, electric cars, removing monopolies over social media programs. I don't know. Human population growth instead of reduction, because it's about to collapse. So we need to have more children. We could go down the list of some things. I don't know. I don't know nothing about it. I don't really know him. But I like what I see just from the information you can gather.
Yeah, but that information about the Twitter thing that came out today about how he's working with the government, how he's going to crack down on hate speech. That was all today.
What exactly? Because I've not heard of it yet. So
yeah, what's called? There's a podcast I listen to. It's called Timcast IRL. They're talking about Elon Musk, how he's literally working to crack down on hate speech, So like even though he was saying like he's gonna let free speech and all that stuff, that was all just a lie.
Hey, I'm a bow out, guys. It's been
Man.
real seeing y'all. I'll try to make it on Saturday. We'll see what happens. I've been busy with family and work and stuff. My schedule's all crazy, but I do miss you guys. I love y'all and Chris. Even though we don't agree on this, Elon Musk and Donald Trump, I think you'll wake up before whatever the next is, because there's something called controlled opposition. So they give us, they feed us things we want to hear. Trump's real good at this, and so is Elon Musk, and they tell us what we want to hear as truthers, as young Earth creationists, or people that are woke to the new order, the communism, and but they're gonna lead us to a new age of uh, their goal is going to be to lead us to a new age, not like a dark world order that we can see kind of like Bill Gates and Shaw's claws, but it's a new age of enlightenment, and it's not really going to be Satan taking over the world. It's going to be Lucifer. He's going to appear as an angel of light. So be wary of these things, because controlled opposition tells you what you want to hear. So you fall behind them, fall in line, and then you follow them to wherever they want to take you, which is obviously breaking God's commandments and straying away from God. And I just want you to think about controlled opposition, bro, what that means. And if anyways, bro, it was good chatting with you again. I missed you. I haven't talked to you in like a month, but I gotta head to bed, bro. I'll catch y'all next
All
time.
right, then, Agger.
Hey
God
man.
bless you. Jesus loves you, and don't let the government microchip you or Elon Musk. Peace.
Yep. Yeah. Peace,
Hey
Agger.
man, see it.
Thanks for coming. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree to not go. You don't want to break God's law. When I say support Elon Musk, I mean, like, there's a boundary there. Okay, you don't want to. If he starts supporting abortion, obviously you want to stop supporting Elon Musk. I haven't
I
seen
don't
anything
know.
yet to where I would want to like oppose him. I don't see any harm that he's doing to society. All he's doing is making it better.
Well, I
Same with
mean,
Trump, that's all he did with America was make it better. So why would you remove him from office and put some old geezer that can't even formulate a sentence?
well, I mean, you know that we have we have the Democrats and the Republicans, but then we also got people in the Republican side who also are siding with the Democrats, but they're playing as Republicans.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of corruption going on there.
Yeah, but don't you find it kind of strange how Elon Musk, like, he has that one world order, jacket, and he's literally like he's trying to like pretty much show that he is part of it, but he's trying to hide it at the same time because the white print that he has on his jacket is really hard to see, and that's the whole point.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that there's nothing. He's not like a good candidate, relatively speaking, as opposed to other people that actually do harm to society. Instead of just having a jacket, Zuckerberg actually does ban the truth. He really does remove legitimate people. On Facebook, he's a communist. You could look to other people. Barack Obama. If you want to look at like a communist as a plant, like it's a part of the new world order. Look at Beyonce or somebody. Just Elon Musk is one of these guys that he doesn't make like filthy garbage music or get into wicked politics. He's just a guy with a business where he makes fast, electric cars and sends shit into outer space. I don't see how it could eventually, I could see how he could eventually use that for a bad purpose. But right now, I don't see any evidence of that necessarily. His costume party, it's just, if it happened on a night that wasn't Halloween, I'd be more convinced.
If it wasn't on Halloween, you would be more convinced.
Yeah. I mean, I know he's not a Christian. He's like probably an atheist. That doesn't necessarily mean he's a Satanist.
Doesn't he have Asperger's? Like he has like a people with Asperger's, they have issues with relating to people's feelings or something like that.
Asperger's.
Yeah, he has Asperger's. He has Asperger's.
See, because that sounds like Asperger's, so that's funny. I don't know. I think they should change the name of that.
Oh yeah, I
What
mean,
is
but
it?
doesn't it affect your ability to relate, like empathy? Isn't what's called? Isn't it like your
Yeah.
inability? Yeah.
Are you saying
So
he's unsympathetic?
it's I think more he's trying to look for things to advance humans, but at the same time, it doesn't matter if it hurts humans or not, as long as it advances humans. So like electric cars, putting technology into human beings, like screw the consequences as long as it advances the human race. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are all avenues they could take in the future. I don't see him taking them right now, though.
Well, I mean, he is taking them right now with the whole Neuralink stuff.
No, because they're not even past a monkey playing ping pong with Neuralink. Okay, it's not even anywhere close to the things that they actually want to do with it. It's just in the development process. And once it gets to the point where they can use it, it's not going to have anything to do with the economy. There are other chips that are already being used for the economy to put in your head or your hand. Like that's already a technology that's being used right now. You could even use your credit card as an example. Now it has a chip on it. You could just like flash it in front of the gas pump and it takes your money right out of that thing. It's scary.
Yeah, but like imagine like what's it called? You have the chip. Okay, so you have the mark of the beast, which is going to be the chip you're gonna have
Yeah.
on your hand to buy or sell, and then you're gonna have the Neuralink also in your head to also what's it called to track your emotions, so to see your allegiance towards the government.
Yeah, that's a good point because they definitely can use technology like that. The government can get a hold of Elon Musk's legitimate technology that he wants to use for good and use it for wickedness. You could do the same thing with an atom bomb. That doesn't mean that Albert Einstein is the Antichrist.
But what good is it to have a Neuralink though? Like,
because of the things that he wants to do with it. He wants to heal and like paralyzed people.
yeah, but I mean, isn't the same concept as Bill Gates? How he made that what's called that where he made the dirty water that they shit in, he made it drinkable. Yeah, what's called they have this chemical thing where they pour in water and it in toxic water, and it literally separates the toxins from to the bottom. You can drink the water, and he drinks the cup of shit water. And yeah, what's called. But thing is, like but then he uses the people as batteries for the toilets to what's called to make energy, because he's using people's shit for energy.
Yeah.
So pretty much it looks good. It looks like he's giving them free water, but he's actually using people as human batteries.
I guess if they're not being paid, I don't know. I don't think it's necessary to pay someone. It's just you just use his toilet and then we'll collect it. It's not really. There's no
Well, I mean,
thing going on.
It's supposed to be like the toilet generates energy or something like that. I don't know how that shit works. There's a video on that. I gotta find it. But
that just sounds dumb. We need to be at least limited on our water supply before we start thinking about doing things like that. I think other countries could possibly use it, but I wouldn't even recommend it for them. There's just better ways to do that. Bill Gates, he's a lot better of an example of a communist Illuminati guy, like a cult member.
Well, technically, we do have a lot of water. It's just that the water companies are the ones who's taking away the free water.
Yeah, you pay for water. That's stupid.
Yeah, like the people in is it South Africa or something like that that they have to walk miles just to get free water, just to get water. Yeah,
you gotta go on a voyage with bad roads. You take certain roads and they're like because you got to use the roads. The rest like forest, a swamp, a desert. There's all kinds of animals, so it's like the roads that they have in these places are just like catastrophic. You get stuck if you try to bring anything other than something that has like 50 wheels on it. You're gonna have problems. It's gonna take you like a very long time. weeks or even a month or 2 months just to get from one place to the other, just because how bad the roads are. So if
Oh
just
yeah.
walking there is taking you that long, I just don't understand why they have that problem, because it's like,
It's because there's that the company Nestle.
yeah,
I think they dug through their water. Pretty much they took their water from them, and they're making them buy the water bottles back from them. So pretty much like they take their waters and making them pay back for their water.
yeah. And that's, even people that live in areas like that will tell you it's a failure of the leadership, that's at the top. It's usually one guy who doesn't have to answer to anybody except God. And then it just gets complicated.
Well, money corrupts, especially
But
we got
you need to be resourceful, and those people that live in those conditions, they know how to get around stuff
well, I
like
mean, they
that.
have to.
Those are the people that you need, when a places like America fall. The rich politicians are not going to have anywhere to go in a fallout situation. They're just going to go over to Africa, see what they can learn. That's what else can you do? So even though they seem to be the most poverty stricken and hardened people that have like the most difficult lifestyles on earth, they're the most likely to survive. And they do survive. Like, they got old people down there. It's not like they're not living and taking care of themselves. It's just harder for them to do it than it is for us here. But why wouldn't you use like Bill Gates? Or I don't know about Bill Gates, but he did make Microsoft. I gotta give it to him. Why wouldn't you
He
at
didn't.
least use those benefits to humanity?
He
You don't
didn't
have
make Microsoft. He
to.
bought the software from someone, didn't he?
I'm not sure what happened there. I know the Xbox was fantastic. So even if he is a terrible guy, I'm still using his Xbox. I'm still gonna play it.
I mean, just because someone makes something convenient doesn't make them a good person.
Yeah, no, that's what but it doesn't make them a bad person either, just because they were able to like do something incredible and they have the ability to do something bad. You just got to look at what they're actually doing. Like personally, like if they have a crime record or whatever. Bill Gates definitely with his vaccine mass production, I would say that's a crime against humanity, and you shouldn't trust that guy. So when Elon Musk comes out with a vaccine, I'll be questioning Elon Musk and telling people to kind of try to stray away from that guy. But I just haven't seen anything like that. Like I was saying, I don't think Elon Musk is someone that should be really worried about, other than the fact that he's like the richest guy on the planet. But that's just a matter of if he wants to do good with his position, his wealth, or if he wants to do evil. But right now, I don't see anything wrong.
I'm starting to see him bend the knee. So
maybe, I don't know. We'll give it some time. I haven't seen nothing on that, because last I heard that he wanted to take over Facebook, it was like a slow process where he bought it, but it wasn't supposed to. There was nothing supposed to go into effect until like a year. So I don't even know if he has power over it right now.
I think he's the lone CEO of the company right now.
Yeah, so I don't think he's gonna make any moves as of yet. Whatever you're hearing on the news may be just a play. It may be fake news.
I'm not like it's independent news, so it's not like what's called main, like it's not like TV broadcast news like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. He has like too much sketchy shit going on with him.
I'm gonna research this outer space topic and then see if I can come up with some stuff to show you on Saturday. I know you won't be convinced. Neither will I, most likely. But it'll take a at least an hour worth of stream and maybe bring in some new traffic and add numbers to the channel. One day they'll have to shut it down, and then I'm gonna have to open up another one, and then the cycle continues. The cycle of YouTube life when you're someone who speaks the truth until somebody takes over YouTube. That I would like to see, because there's just so many limits on it. Right now, though, they're not like striking my channel. They just kind of send me emails, say we removed your video and that's no longer allowed. But nothing, like I don't get striked anymore. So I think this could be good. I don't have any strikes on the channel.
Yeah, which is, I guess it depends on how big your channel is. If it's a small one, they'll just probably just give a bunch of warnings. Yeah, like that.
Yeah. Yeah, they could develop into strikes if it continues. Who cares? So I don't. If I figure out their algorithm, I mean, if I Mr. Beast it, nobody's gonna be able to stop me. We'll just have to wait and see. You know, I gotta bide my time, see where the numbers are going. I don't know, because it took me a while to get to 1,000 subscribers with my other channel. It wasn't that hard though. I mean, it's not like I still had a full-time job, so.
Yeah, but it just takes some time.
Yeah. You got anything else on your mind, Peter?
No, that was the only question I was trying to ask you about. Was called like if if they want to
pre-trib Satanists going into space.
Yeah, like why aren't they going to space? But why are they hiding in mountains, trying to hide their face from God? If they can so-called go to space, why don't they ever do that? When it comes to war or anything, it's always about going to bunkers.
I mean, I think that they could do that, and they will try to go to space. I mean, not everybody's going to be able to get on the spaceship. It's kind of like an Ark situation. Only a small company can go on a spaceship and be launched into orbit. So if there's a majority of people that are hiding in the clefts of the rocks and praying for them to fall on them because they don't want to die from seeing Jesus' face. It's just too horrific for them to imagine. They don't have the guts, and so they would just rather die than to even see that. But other people, you probably already have to be like an astronaut to even be in that situation where you're in space. And I don't know, man, if you're like a billionaire and you see like crazy stuff going on, God's starting to send fire down on the earth and the sun and the moon are going dark, and then you decide to get a rocket and go up into orbit, that's not going to protect you. I don't know. I'm not sure why you're asking the question.
It's because if God is supposed to pour his wrath on earth, and if it's supposed to be on earth, then why don't they just like escape the planet Earth in order to escape God's wrath? But they don't.
Yeah, I don't think that they would be able to, even if they managed. So, like I said, it would be a small number, and even if that small number succeeds, which there are people in space right now, there's going to be fire and brimstone coming from outer space onto the Earth. So I don't think they're going to survive that. Nothing will. If anything is in outer space, any human life, God will find it with a big ball of fire and obliterate it. Maybe there's like a Christian astronaut out in space. In that case, he'll be raptured. And I guess instead of going up to the clouds, he'll be going down to the clouds.
Yeah, see, that doesn't make any sense either. Because then if somebody was saved and they were, what, I don't know. It would I don't know where what's called people who believe in space and everything. How where do they expect where do they expect heaven to be at? If we're supposed to be this one galaxy in this giant universe, and heaven's really extremely far away. I just don't understand that. Why would God create heaven so extremely far away in the pitch black darkness of space?
I think that's more of a philosophical question. rather than like a, because there's no problem with it. You know, having outer space is not a problem. The physics behind it is easy to explain. Why is kind of like philosophical, but those philosophical problems you should remove from your mind until you find out what the Bible says about it. And then once you are confident on that, then it doesn't matter why. It just matters, you know, you can find out why later after you know what actually happened. But
Well, I mean, from my worldview, it makes sense. But like when it comes to like trying to like understand like the whole galaxy worldview of where heaven's supposed to be at, it doesn't make any sense. It just feels like very distant and far instead of like literally just above us.
yeah. Well, I don't know. It makes sense to me. Solomon, when he went to build a temple to the Lord, he said, "Behold, Lord, the heavens and the heavens of heavens cannot contain thee. How much more this house that I have built?" So heaven's got to be a pretty huge place to have God in it. And even it is not big enough. So really, when you look at the vastness of space, it's nothing compared to God. He is so massive, trillions of light years across. I mean, this God that we serve is a unimaginably huge human being. So he makes unimaginably huge things called the universe, called stars. And we ought to be very afraid of him, thinking that we could possibly go to hell if we don't do what he says. So that's what I see when I look in space. I see the wrath of God coming down on this earth, the wrath of an unstoppable force that commands obedience to Jesus Christ. So people ought to be afraid of that when they look up. Now, if it's just right there, well, I don't know. It's still, you know, it's still true even then, because you know, he created this planet, so that's a pretty heavy task. I just think it's bigger than that, though. I don't think it's just because in the Bible, like if it's just right there, you only have technically 3 heavens in the Bible. Paul said, "I knew a man in the flesh and the spirit, I don't know, but someone that was caught up to the 3rd heaven." So what is that? And that seems to be the limit for the atmospheres in the Bible, where the 1st heaven, where the birds are, outer space, and then the 3rd heaven. I don't know how you can move any further just based on scripture. You just have those 3.
Well, for me, I see the first heaven as the firmament, the second heaven, which would be, I'm guessing that's where what's called like heaven is, and then you have the 3rd heaven, which is supposed to be where God's throne is. I mean, that's what I'm guessing at. Because the firmament for me, okay, since I believe in the dome, since God calls the firmament heaven in Genesis, so that's the 1st heaven. The 2nd heaven would be like the place where, you know, where the mansions and all that stuff, and then you would have the third heaven where God's throne is, where he sits above all.
I'm trying to think of that. I don't know if it could present any problems theologically. I don't think it does, but I just don't see it that way, you know, because there's something black out there, okay, where there's no light. Like, is that just like an invisible boundary? And why it
That's just what's called, because
if the
when
sun goes away, there's just total blackness. If God was up there, you should be able to see him even when it's daylight outside, because it's God. So why is he in? Is it just because he's invisible, but he's like right there still at the same time, or is he actually so far away that you can't see it?
doesn't it say that what's called that when God created the earth, he created light and darkness first before he created the sun and moon?
Mm-hmm.
And like what's called, there's like you ever seen like these weird pictures of the night sky? You can see the night sky and the daylight, but you can see this straight white. You can see the straight line dividing the darkness and the light.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like so. I feel like just the light is light, night is night, but but the fact that the sun was created before, I mean, after the day and night, which means that day and night was already there before the creation of the sun and the moon. So, I mean, I just see that darkness. That's just the night sky. That was it.
But what creates the night? Like why? Because if you look at the colors, white is the combination of the whole color spectrum, and black is the total absence of color. So if there's an absence of color outside of the atmosphere, and then there's stars within it, it seems to be that's like an open expanse filled with stars. There's nothing in it. It's just black. If what's on the other side of the universe is God and heaven, well, then it has to be in outer space. But that part of it is invisible. I don't see how you could remove outer space entirely, because if you did that, then there wouldn't be anything dark to look at in the night sky.
Well, I mean, for me, it's just like the night sky is just the night sky. That's just how God created it.
Okay, well,
That's how it's.
Stars, where are they?
Well, it says that He set them in the firmament, so it would have to be. It would have to be literally set in the firmament. So it had to be yeah. It would have to be in the firmament.
Yeah, in the dome.
Yeah, in the dome, because of what's called that star they made with the water.
Well, then why can't you see them when it's daylight out? Because they're angels, so you should be able to see them.
Why can't we see? Because we can't see what's called we can't see stars in the bright daylight. Just like we can't see that many stars whenever you're in the city, when you have too much lights around you. But if you go out in the wilderness, you can see stars more clearly. It's just depending on.
We're talking about a star that's right, maybe 60,000 or something miles up, right above the atmosphere. You should be able to see that regardless, because it's massively bright.
You mean regardless of day or night?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like if I flash the flashlight from a far distance, you won't be able to see a flashlight in the what's called in the daylight, though. I mean, I understand like trying to.
If it was far away, like real far away, you wouldn't be able to see it. But what you're suggesting is the stars are literally right up there in the sky.
Yeah, but
why is it that you can only see them when the lights go out?
Because that's how light works. Because you can't see them because you can barely see. Like if you saw like a shining bright light from up there while the sun's out, you're not gonna see nothing because it's already bright as it is. So.
No, what's happening, is there are bright lights in outer space, light years away, and they're outside of the atmosphere. So when the atmosphere brightens up, all we see is blue. We can't see what's on the other side of the atmosphere because its color has changed. It's become bright, and so that's why you look at the sky. It's reflected. It's like whatever's going on up there, all of the the composition of whatever the atmosphere is made of. It's made of several layers, produces a color, and it's blue, and you can't see stars through that. You can't see the blackness of outer space through the layers of the atmosphere. Whereas if stars were in the atmosphere, there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to see them. They're literally in the atmosphere. You take a flashlight and you move that outside of the atmosphere that's shining bright, yeah, you're not going to be able to see it. But if you took the flashlight and put it in the atmosphere, even though it was daylight outside, you'd still be able to see a bright light in the sky. It would be like a second sun being introduced. There is no evidence that angels are stars in contact with the Earth's atmosphere. Bizarre. Unscientific. Totally unobservable. Who in their right mind thinks that an angel is right there? Like, then you'd be able to go and actually talk with it if it's right there. If it's that close, we just send a rocket up there, okay, or something. Send a jet fighter, because they can go pretty high. You'd at least be able to get like a telescope close enough, even one from the Earth, to be able to like actually see. Why is it that we only see a dot? I mean, there's so many questions here that really we need to reserve all of this for Saturday night.
All right.
I'm gonna be hitting you with like 50 whys, if not, and then this will go till like 5 a.m. on the topic that we're supposed to be on Saturday night. I don't want that to happen. All right. A bunch of stuff that we already talked about. So, you got closing statements, Peter?
No, not really. Just came in just to ask that one question.
All right, then. Well, yeah, we might cover that. Come back to that question Saturday night as well. If I try to answer, I don't know. So, everybody, this is my other co-host, Peter Leon Iger, has already left the building. He's more famous than Elvis on this channel, so I appreciate it anytime he or Iger or Peter comes in to join me. It's always a good time and always mind-opening, mind-bending, head-spinning. So thanks for tuning in. Stay in prayer. God bless America. Y'all have been great. My name is Christopher Sylvius. Peace be upon you.
Oh, shit. I was going to ask you a question. I just remembered what's called. It's about Halloween. You want to ask?
Yeah. Go.
Oh, wait. Well, no, not Halloween, but what's called. Do you think people who preach lordship salvation can be possessed? Can you get people possessed if you preach a lordship salvation?
Can you get them possessed? Like, if you're unsaved, yeah, you're capable of being possessed, no matter.
No, as in like what's called. If someone preaches the lordship salvation to someone, and you know how they say, let Jesus Christ into your heart, and what's called, we're supposed to come to Jesus, not the other way around. We're supposed to come to Christ, and they say the opposite way, where they say where God comes to you, and these demons, they can say the name of Jesus. They can say Jesus' name, because you have the example of what's called the Legion saying Jesus' name in Matthew. So I mean, so these what's called, so just like yoga, how they tell you to let the energy flow into you. Isn't that the same concept?
As lordship salvation?
What?
Yoga is similar to lordship salvation?
In a way, because you're asking what's called, because you're supposed to come to Christ, but they're telling you to let something in you when it comes to lordship salvation, instead of you coming to Christ and God putting something in you.
Yeah, I feel like that removes the free agent principle in the Bible, like from the Garden of Eden, where we all have a choice to make. And then, I don't know. So yeah, if you was somebody was teaching you that in order to get saved, you just have to get spontaneously sought out by God, well then I don't see how there's any opportunity for you to be saved until then. So you just kind of gotta wait. So what kind of evangelistic program are you supposed to set up with that kind of garbage? It's like God, people don't get saved until God just like reaches him. No, they have to reach out to God, and then God gives them what he already said that he would give them if they asked.
Yeah.
That lordship stuff, that's weird. But
Yeah,
yeah, anything like that, it's just as bad as voodoo or some other false religion, Buddhism. You're letting a lie, you're believing a lie. You're believing
Yeah.
something that contradicts the true
And you're
purpose.
literally giving you're pretty much like trying to tap into this energy force to let this thing in you. So pretty much you're giving it permission, just like the demons want.
Yeah, I mean, what they're perceiving as God is the devil convincing them that God is going to force them to get saved, basically. I don't know what that is.
Well, I mean, like if a demon says that he what's called like since demons can say the name of Jesus Christ. So if they can say his name, wouldn't they be able to fake being Jesus Christ just like the devil does it?
I don't know. One more time? I'm not sure.
Okay, so if the devil can disguise himself as the light and try to fake himself as Christ, couldn't demons do that too? Like, say
Yeah,
that.
I mean, every false prophet that teaches that teaches lordship salvation is a demon, has probably had many demons in them for a long time if they're preaching that to others. So there's a difference between a person in the pews listening to lordship sermons, and then there's the person actually preaching them. That person is most definitely a demon, and he's trying to push those demons onto the people that he wants to believe it. So if you think that God is just, he has to like come to you, well then yeah, you're going to be like laying on the floor, spreading your arms open or rolling around, barking like a dog, like you're on fire or something to get God's attention so that he'll save you. But you probably won't be just believing Christ and just putting your faith in his works and his perfect life and his resurrection from the dead. That probably won't be any part of it. You'll probably be hoping that one day you'll go to church and just spontaneously start speaking another language, and then you'll be able to prove that you're saved. But that's going to be a devil when that happens, because you're opening yourself up to the possibility that you can be saved, that you can have salvation through anything other than the right avenue that everybody has to take to get saved. If you're not taking that avenue, what you're dealing with is demons. You're dealing with lies, and that's the source of lies, is demons. So yeah, it's the exact same thing as, what is it, yoga. You stretch, stretch your legs.
Well, it's the whole tapping into the spirits and stuff like that. They're trying to like try just getting permission of letting something in you in general instead of God changing you. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that it just feels like God has to do the work there instead of you. Like there's not any effort. That's a part of the doctrine, is that we're kind of just chosen. Like there's an elect group of people that God has already foreordained to be saved, meaning that they never had an opportunity or ever will. They were just part of those people that God determined just to be damned, I guess.
Well, I mean, like, wouldn't that take away from the whole free will concept?
Yeah.
Do you believe in free will?
Yeah, I believe in free will. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, I believe history is set. Like when it comes to like what's called the events of what's going to happen in the future. But when it comes to people's salvation, it's all individual. Like, yeah.
Yeah, they have a choice. And if God has to come at you first, then that takes away from the choice. Because, who's going to deny anything that God desires once he comes looking for it? You really going to deny? It's like, if he comes after you if that's what you need to be saved, is God to like somehow move in or make a sudden appearance, do something, then
Yeah.
that's not on you. There's no free will there at all.
What is that? One of those churches, it talks about what's called how Jesus Christ is outside the door and he's knocking on the door for anyone to come out from the church. It's one of the 7 churches. I think it's a Loveless one. I think. Crap, I
No,
forgot.
Revelations. Yeah, I don't recall.
Yeah, it because that one literally talks about like how they what's called they say they have Christ, they don't, and then what's called Christ is right there knocking on the door, and no one's coming to him.
Yeah, I remember the verse. I don't think I can quote it though without butchering it, so I'm gonna refrain from that. You could look it up, I suppose. But what about it?
Oh, what's called that's what I was talking about. Whenever you have to come to Christ, not the other way around, and that's what Lordship Salvation preaches.
Yeah. So they would say that when Jesus is knocking, that's kind of like him moving in or whatever. Like, but still in that scenario, you have to open the door. It's not like he's open. If Lordship Salvation was true, he wouldn't be knocking. He'd just open and come right in. It's the FBI, man. This is God. I'm coming in. You know, I don't need a warrant for your soul. I own it, so I'm taking it. But God doesn't take souls. He actually receives them. Like he doesn't steal them. You know, it's like he made the soul, but if it's gonna go to heaven to be with him forever, it's not gonna be based on like what he wants. It's actually based on what we want, on whether or not we want to go to heaven now. So he's not like it's a choice.
Isn't it whether or not you trusted in what he did? Not whether.
Yeah. He owns your soul in the sense that he can either punish it forever or bless it in heaven forever, but he doesn't own it in the sense that he gets to decide what happens. You know, he doesn't decide whether you go to hell or heaven. That's not something he decides. He decides you're going to one or the other. And then you have the free choice to choose one. With Lordship Salvation, that aspect of it is removed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess that was the other question I remembered, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
That was a good question. We need we need to do some more streams like on topics like that, because that's really good stuff that people need to know. A lot of people being lied to out there. Most churches are like haunted houses, basically. So you really got to know a lot nowadays before you even attempt to join a church. It's more practical for you to be at home doing a private Bible study than it would be in some so-called house of the Lord, which is really a house of Satan, and some wicked, sinister is up there just teaching lies and teaching you, basically sending people to hell because teaching them a false way to heaven. So that's not good. You have to research, and it's not good for you to be like in a false house of God. You'd be better off, even if there's good stuff coming from the pulpit, you'd be better off in your own private Bible study at home. Just stay home and read your Bible until you can go to a legitimate church. As long as the gospel is right, I think that's about all you need. For me, there's like a church, but it's like 3 hours away. So it's not practical. I'm not going to drive it's a 6-hour drive. So one day I'll be driving 6 hours, and I would have to, because of my work schedule, I can only do that once a week, but I have to gain my
Yeah.
days off. It's just not good. There's another church, but it's still like an hour away, and it's not like I don't feel like it's good enough for me to invest that time, because I went there for a few weeks and it's like I knew more soul winning than the pastor. He didn't really, it seemed like had even done it before. Like it looked like this guy had never actually knocked on a door and tried to get someone saved. His soul winning program that he has in his church is to go out and invite people to the church. So I kind of saw
Yeah.
the downfall, and then they were KJV only though, and I like that. They believe the right gospel, and
I
I thought
mean,
that was good. But it's just so it's far away again. But it's not too far away. But my work schedule, it's just like I could only go there once a week if I don't have Sundays off. Then I'm on Wednesday or I'm on Sunday, and if I go Sunday, I'm only going to attend one of those services. But I really want to go all in if I'm going to join a church.
yeah, I would kind of find I feel I would feel it. I would find it strange if the guy who would be the head of the church or whatever, I guess or the pastor or whatever, like if he's too focused on the amount of people instead of who, like what's called focusing more about the numbers instead of what's called trying to get people saved.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm guessing that he did did he do the tithing stuff, like donate 10%, any of that kind of stuff in the churches?
Yeah, I agree with tithing though. I think that's good.
Oh, I mean, like what's called how you're supposed to donate the money, but the money is supposed to go to the other brother and sister in Christ who needs it, but they use it for, let's say, buy their own house, buy a new boat.
Oh no, yeah. I'm not talking about like a wicked church. It's a good church. It's just I don't know if there's enough going on for me to invest a 2-hour drive once a week. Because I want to go all in. I don't want to just go once a week. I want to get on every program that is humanly possible. But they have to, they got to live close by, and I have to have a work schedule that opens it all up, which I don't now. There's no way I can really solve this at this time. But I can, I don't know. I'm thinking about going up to Oklahoma City eventually, just to visit. Joining churches is very difficult, I would think, for anybody.
Yeah, I don't like going to churches at all. Like the one over here, like they play rock music into the church, stuff like that. I'm just like, I'm not really into that kind of Christian rock that much. And then you have this other church I went to. I was trying to ask him a question about salvation, and he said that you can lose it. So I was like, I'm not going over there anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I say that we have our own little powwows, like on Saturday night. Just continue this, at least for now, because you need a church too, Peter, but there's not one I can recommend. There's not one you could recommend to me because I've already looked. What are your two brothers supposed to do? We're pretty good at sharpening iron with each other.
Well, isn't the church is whenever like a group of brothers and sisters like get together in general. It doesn't matter about like if it's like a like even like wouldn't this be a church? Like if you had another person here with us that was saved.
Well, just the two of us in general, God is going to. Because I don't think that verse really applies to church. I think churches are legitimate, like they have pastors. And then it doesn't mean that there's a building. You don't need a building, but you do at least need like a biblical preacher. because that's necessary. Like the apostles, for instance, they established pastors. They're called the pastoral epistles of Titus, Timothy. And then you got Peter that talks about pastors. And you have, the point is that I think that verse, 2 or 3 are gathered together and there I am in the midst of them, is just a reference to prayer in general. Like if you're in God's will and you're praying, then God is going to hear that. Now, depending on the circumstances, God being someone who foresees the future, the answer to that prayer could be no, but he's not overlooking it. He's not. If you're saved individuals, if 2 or 3 saved people are praying on something that is in God's will, he definitely hears it. So there's a better chance that it would actually be answered, that prayer. Whereas opposed to 2 people that were not saved, God's not hearing them. And if they receive the answer to their prayer, it'd just be by chance that it happened. But anyways.
So what are your thoughts about what's called, does whenever a sinner prays, and does God listen to, does God hear the prayer when a sinner prays?
A sinner that doesn't believe the gospel?
No, what's called, like, let's say if a sinner who was called, like, they're not saved, but they don't quite understand the whole, the whole concept, and they just started to just pray to Jesus Christ, even though they're not saved, and you don't think God looks at their heart and see where their heart is?
I'm sure God could, make exceptions, and he could move people to soften their hearts. Yeah, he could answer their prayer. But generally, no, he's not hearing the prayer of unsaved people.
Oh yeah, because most of the time it's like, I want this, or God, I want to be rich, or it's like it's all about meaning. Yeah.
Yeah. But back to the church thing. Like what we're doing here is great and we can grow from it. But what is better, what is legitimate is an actual church. But it's just that if those circumstances aren't available, you don't have a church. I think that God appreciates what you can do. If you take what you have and you do the best with that, God has to acknowledge that. If he's an all just God, if he loves us, he cares about us, he understands, he has sympathy, realizes all of the churches are corrupt. So you're just doing what you can. In between you and the Holy Spirit University, I think you can learn everything that is necessary to know. Stay dedicated. It's just hard for most people, I would say, if they don't have like a good church that has the pastor's council and the other people in the church and their council, that fellowship to normalize society, keep them from swallowing a lot of what the world is teaching and living a worldly lifestyle. Church actually stabilizes them. You have people around you that can hold you accountable. That's why God established, local independent churches in the New Testament. He didn't establish private Bible studies. So it's very important that a church is sought out. If you can't find it, there you go. You got you got other ways. You can go back and hold a private Bible study with my family at home 2 days a week. We go over several chapters in a single session. It's pretty profitable. It would be better if we were at a church, but I think that God respects the fact that we're doing what we can. And I'll be rewarded for these things, hopefully. I don't expect much. I expect to be called the least in the kingdom of heaven, but I will have something. That's just what God said. So we'll be rewarded one way or another if we're doing what we can for the Lord.
Yep. Or you can be a very bad child and try to sin as much as you want, and then you'll have no rewards. And then people will see how much you love Jesus Christ, and apparently it wasn't enough. You didn't love that. Because like if our rewards represent like how much we did these things for Christ, because we did it out of love for Christ, and if somebody shows up and they get rewarded and they get rewarded with nothing, that'll just show how much they love God Not at all.
Yeah.
And doesn't it talk about what's called like you have to that there's gonna be a shame at that time, like because people I have to find that verse next time, but yeah, about how like what's called it's gonna be since we're all gonna be judged, we're gonna see how other people have loved Jesus Christ or not. So
Yeah, I definitely believe there's a time in heaven we get there and we receive our lot, you know, and we see the people that are in hell. There will be a time of crying. And you would have to have a scenario where people in heaven are crying, because otherwise God cannot physically wipe every tear from our eyes. That wouldn't be possible. So we're gonna have to cry at some point in heaven. I think that'd be a good time, you know, if you chose not to do anything with your life for the Lord, and then you see the other people that stepped up to the plate and did what they could. Yeah, you're gonna cry about that situation. But now that you're saved, it's gonna be okay, so you can move forward after that. So wisdom is to do what's necessary now, not to wait till you end up in heaven with the Lord to serve him, because then you're not going to be able to get anyone saved. Then it's like, yeah, there's plenty of work to do in heaven, but none of it is for souls anymore. And that's the most important work that there will ever be in all of eternity. And we only have that opportunity for like it's not even a flash in the pan compared to eternity. What we have right now is the greatest work ever, the Great Commission of Jesus Christ. And it's just, you know, it's sobering when you think about how brief that time period is. It's the greatest work that is to ever be done in all eternity, but it only happens just in the blink of an eye. Just there's such a brief time period that God is using to get this done. I mean, we're now 2022. I mean, the Bible says the earth is like around 6,200 years. Well, compared to eternity, that is nothing. And it's not going to be around here very much longer, I don't think, the earth. So it's not like we have a lot of time to do this, especially one person only has like 100 years if they're extremely lucky or blessed. I don't know. 60, 70, probably more logical.
I mean, is it a good thing to live? Like, is it really a good thing to be living up to 100 years old in a human body? Because don't you have to go through a lot of shit?
I don't think I'd want to make it that far, really.
All right, just aching and just in pain, and your bones being brittle.
Yeah. I'm really leaving now.
All right, man.
Peter, God bless you. Everybody in the comment section. Well, I think it was just you and Iger in the comment section. Oh yeah, XXX69Biz out of the. I already blocked you, so it doesn't matter. You're not even hearing this. So anybody who wants to promote virtual girls, I'm not into that. You can spam some other stuff, and it'll probably be fine. If you want to advertise Manscaped, I don't care. I mean, that's a beautiful product. You want to groom down below. I'm cool, okay? And I'm not shouting out to Manscaped. I'm just saying that's really not acceptable here. So I don't like this. I don't know. Anyways, that's why you gotta have moderators for the channels. I think you're a moderator. If I'm not, I'm gonna give you a link, post links, and then Iger. You both should definitely be hooked up with the wrench.
Yeah, we got a wrench. All
right, then. C Science Lab, he got mad because I still haven't given him a wrench. He's probably not coming back for a while. I don't know. I'll see him on SFT and bring him back over here. But yeah. Peace.
All right, man. See you.